I think it's the 20th. It's our, or 21st, because MLK Day is the 20th. It always happens. One meeting, yeah. The last meeting in December and the first meeting in January are always blacked out. No? Mm-mm. No meeting on the 3rd, right? It'd be like the day after MLK Day. There you go. Okay. All right, so we're back from closed session, and we have reportable action from our city attorney.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. So there was a motion made by Councilmember Trujillo to reject the claim submitted by Noah Mitchell. There was a second by Councilmember Mendoza Navarro. The vote was as follows. Councilmember Trujillo, yes. Councilmember Mendoza Navarro, yes. Councilmember Guerra, yes. Mayor Pro Tem Cho, yes. And Mayor Robertson, yes. The claim was rejected unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you for that. And with that, we will adjourn the special meeting, and we will take a 2-minute break. I know we're a little late tonight. Thank you for your patience. And we'll be back around 6:12 to start our regular meeting. Our Selma City Council regular meeting, November 15th, 2021, 6 p.m. in the Selma City Council Chambers, 1710 Tucker Street, Selma, California. Consistent with AB 361 and Government Code Section 54953, this meeting will be held remotely. Members of the public may access the meeting using the following information. Teleconference phone number 1301-715-8592, webinar ID 817-6894-0399. When on the phone, if you wish to address the council during the public comment portion of the agenda, press star 9 to raise hand, and we will select you from the meeting queue. Press star 6 to unmute and mute yourself. Tonight's invocation will be led by Pastor Luis Quintana from the New Hope Family Church.
Please stand for the invocation. Mayor Robertson, City Council, thank you for your service to our community, and in the spirit of gratitude as we enter into this Thanksgiving season, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the opportunity to live in such a great city of Selma, and I just thank you for all that you're doing in us and among us, and we just ask that you would just be with us here tonight. As decisions are made, I pray for wisdom. I pray for decisions that would be made for the greater good of our community. And as we gather here, we're gathered in unity. We ask for attitudes to remain in check. We ask for a spirit of harmony to go forward in every decision. And Lord, even though we may disagree on different things and different people step up from the community, I pray that we just come to a common thought that you're in this, and we just want to make Selma a great place to live. And we're just praying, Lord, for your presence tonight. I pray for Mayor Robertson, for the council members, Guerra, Mendoza, Navarro, and Trujillo. Lord, may they hear your spirit as they make decisions. In Jesus' name, pray. Amen.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra.
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here. Okay, potential conflicts of interest. Any council member who has a potential conflict of interest may now identify the item and recuse themselves from discussing and voting on the matter. Oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may address the city council regarding any item over which the council has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will take place on any item raised during oral communications. Issues raised will be referred to the city manager for further review. Speakers are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Would anyone like to address the council at this point? Please come forward.
Hi there. Can you hear me, guys?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Jim Avalos, resident 1701 Dinuba Avenue. Okay, I'm here on behalf of George Kosla, a property owner of Selma Plaza. I'm the representative now of Selma Plaza and the general manager operations. And I'm here on behalf to actually on record to thank the people of City of Selma. We put an event together in the City of Selma called City Selma Plaza Appreciation Day for the customers. And that particular day we give free hot dogs to our community, people who live in our community. And also at that event, we had free pony rides. We gave bikes away. We gave jewelry away for everybody in our business in the Selma Plaza came together, and as a positive, they wanted to give something back to the community. Free, no cost to the public, something that we as customers, they appreciate their business in that area. And also we actually created a safe environment. We have put up cameras in the surveillance cameras. Not only we put surveillance cameras, we also put up we made it safe. We put up music. We stepped up the program. You don't see no homeless in the issues. We solved that problem in the area. We reached out to the people that are homeless. Being a former council person, there's programs to help these people, and I've reached out to these people. When you see me there, I have business cards in my car, and I do talk to them, and I'm not shy about it. And there's some tough times with some of those people. It might take 3 or 4 times to address some of these issues, but I don't give up. Mr. Avalo doesn't give up in life. I love this community. I want to, move forward in our community as far as economic development, as far as businesses developing their prosper in their operations. And that's that's why I'm a general property manager of Selma Plaza, to create these new avenues. And we did something out of the box. We did something, these business owners got on board, and we gave something back to the community, free, no cost to nobody. Free TV, we give raffle, kid won bikes, pony rides, bounce houses. It was something that we did not, we wanted to appreciate the people of our community, not just ourselves as business owners. They wanted to say, hey, thank you for what you guys do in our shopping center. Thank you very much. Thank you very much allowing me to talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Yes, could I have the Church of Selma who are available tonight to stand with me? Thank you. Hello, my name is Kealoha Ka'olelapono. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm an associate pastor at Christ River Assemblies of God Church, and tonight I would like to present checks for the Christmas display. These checks will be by all the churches of City of Selma who are coming together to be a part of the Christmas display. So on behalf of all the churches, I would like to speak for them and say how appreciative we all are to be a part of this. We love you guys all very much, and it's an honor. All the churches came together to work together to make the best of it, and we love it. So thank you very much.
For your generosity.
Thank you.
I would like to say, Mayor Robertson, how would you like me to present these checks?
You could, I could come down?
Come on over. Want to stand there?
Send it back, ma'am. Get over.
Want to thank your community of giving hearts, giving people for coming forward at this time when there's so much need. There's need all year long, but God, it just seems like it's so much more in distinction at this time because people have families, they're looking for families, and this is really going to help with our Christmas spirit and a very nice way of showing that we are all under the Lord and whatever we believe in, and that we're accepting people, and it's just beautiful what you're doing. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of our heart as well.
Thank you.
All
Awesome.
right. Thank you, Sam. I'm going to leave these with the city clerk. Do we have any more oral communications at this time?
I am Keoki Ka'olelapono, 1801 2nd Street. City Council, Mayor, come before you tonight and just want to say thank you so much for your guys' help with our Soup and Bread Festival this year. City Council Member Trujillo and City Council Member Mendoza Navarro and former Mayor Franco for being there at our event. And I just want to say just a special thank you to you guys and Shane for the road signs to close off the street. It is such an amazing event every year. And so I come before you. My dad couldn't be here tonight. We had an emergency with our family member. So I'm here to just share with you guys and how much we appreciate you guys as a city council, as one of the churches here in Selma. And I want to say a special thank you to our police commander, Renee Garza, for the first time ever. We had police cars and police officers at our event. And I had nothing but amazing comments from just their presence being there and their cars on the streets with their lights flashing. My in-laws do the crosswalks every year at our event. And they said you wouldn't believe it how much better it was with traffic and cars slowing down because they see the police cars flashing. And it just kind of brings everybody to a slower pace. And it was just an amazing event to have them there and their presence walking around through the event. And I remember cleaning up at the end of the night, was one of the last ones to leave, and they were still standing there, just doing their job, what they were asked to do. And so as a Christ-driven Assembly of God church, and from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you, and thank you to the Police Department of Selma for their service and what you guys do for us. Thank you.
Have any more oral communications at this time? City Clerk, do we have anybody on Zoom or on the phone?
As a reminder to the callers on the line, if you wish to address council, please use *9 to raise your hand, or if using Zoom, please use your virtual hand. We will add you to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, there are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move on to our first special presentation tonight, which is a Pacific Gas and Electric update.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Erica Cabrera, Local Public Affairs Representative for PG&E. I am here before you this evening to kind of just give you a general update on a variety of PG&E policies and programs that we have right now. I provided Raina a copy of the presentation, and we will go ahead and get started on a few. Okay, perfect. So tonight, the general topics that will be discussed is the general rate case proposal, time of use rate transition, the California Independent Systems Operator rotating outages, and then COVID customer resources. So the first proposal is a general rate case. And typically, PG&E files a general rate case with the California Public Utilities Commission every 3 years. That has transitioned to a 4-year process now. So every 4 years, we will file a rate case. And the filing was submitted on June 30th of 2021 for a 2023 potential rate increase. So that also is inclusive of what we call GT&S, which is a natural gas transmission and storage. Usually those filings were done separately, but now everything is inclusive in one filing. There will be public participation hearings, and they are anticipated to be in January and February of 2022. Those dates and locations will be set forth by the CPUC. And we will have a proposed decision expected around December 19th, 2022. Based off of the proposed decision, the rate increases would be expected to take place early part of 2023. The proposal that was submitted in June was for approximately $7.4 billion in new investments. And if approved, the average customer increase is expected to increase about 5% annually on average if you're looking from 2021 through 2026. And that takes into account what was previously approved by the. Also, annually, we do have a true up. So if we look at what market trends are, those can be fluctuated or adopted based off of what was previously authorized by the CPUC. So the areas of focus that we have in this filing are wildfire safety, electric system reliability, gas system safety and reliability, and clean energy. So I know that you may have received kind of a fact sheet a few weeks ago that was a 2-page document that had an overview of the wildfire safety. So that includes, system hardening to reduce the wildfire risk, sectionalization devices. The best way to explain that is right now, sometimes we have a flicker with power. And so the sectionalization devices in our wildfire threat areas, so closest to the Selma area would be kind of like the Auberry area or Dunlap area. And so that is in a tier 2 area of a wildfire threat. Those categorizations were done by the CPUC. And so if there is any reason for there to be an interruption in power, instead of automatically checking the circuit and re-energizing, it would require us to go out and inspect the line to make sure that nothing has come into contact with it. If there was a windstorm, sometimes that may happen, or, a tree may lose a limb. We want to make sure that there aren't any additional risk before automatically restoring power. So that's kind of what the sectionalization does. In terms of the gas system safety and reliability, it would be replacing 220.5 miles of distribution main pipelines in 2022, increasing to 245 miles in 2026. So this is some of our gas infrastructure reliability. In terms of electric system safety and reliability, replacing a number of old wooden poles and infrastructure throughout PG&E's enhanced inspection program, including adding distribution protection zones to reduce and mitigate the outage durations and the number of customers impacted during outages. And then lastly, as it relates to clean energy, would be investing in electric distribution capacity as it relates to supporting customers in-home electric vehicle charging demand, as well as investing in more EV charging infrastructures at PG&E's locations throughout our service territory, adding over 1,000 EVs to PG&E. Well, there are some greenhouse gas initiatives that the state has implemented, and so we're doing our part in, changing it. Time of use transition. I know that I shared with the city manager the time of use transition. So we actually began this transition in October of 2020, and it first started with employees and retirees, and will continue through March of 2022 for the remaining customers. And it is slated to transition here in the Central Valley in February of 2022. And so what that is, it's changing the pricing structure. So peak pricing would be from 4 to 9 p.m. And so that's a time of use rate. So we know that the cost of the kilowatt usage would be higher during that time frame, and then lower outside of that peak time frame. It is a mandate by the state of California that customers transition to time of use, but customers do have the option of opting out. There's kind of a map of how we have transitioned customers, recognizing that customers in the Central Valley typically use more energy in the summer. That is why the Central Valley transition is taking place. Have an opportunity to adapt to the new time of use rate structure. They would be able to see that reflected in their bill. Again, they have a choice. They may opt out. So here is the timeline. 90 days prior to transition, they will receive a letter. 30 days prior to transition, you will receive a letter or an email. Month in transition, you'll receive the welcome letter. And then it's also important to note that customers that either are willing to transition to the time of use rate or have been automatically enrolled in it, they do have a 12-month bill protection, which means if the E1 rate, your annual bill was lower, you would have that bill protection that you can say time of use transition did cost an extra, X amount of dollars, and that they would receive that credit on their bill. This is just for residential customers. So, again, customers do have a choice. They can decline and stay on their E1 rate. Or take no action and you will be automatically transitioned into. Just kind of some takeaways of where you can make your decision online. I know myself that when I logged into my bill, you're able to compare rates. And so I did opt to not be an employee that transitioned into the program, looking at what my projected bill would be versus my current rate plan on the E1. So I declined, but you can look again on your statement if you have an online account. You can call the 1-800 number, or you can mail in. So it is not a rate increase. It is just a transition. The California Independent System Operators rotating outages. I know here in the Central Valley, we hear a lot of, the flex alerts that take place. And so just kind of an overview of where we were between the last 2 summers. So in 2020, there were 2 days of rotating outages. In 2021, a flex alert was called 5 times, but no rotating outages have taken place or did take place. Conservation efforts during a flex alert help relieve strain on the electric grid. Again, it's the state CalISO that calls that will let the utilities know that we project that demand will exceed what's available, and that's when we call a flex alert, urging our customers to conserve to mitigate having any rotating outages. And we were successful this last summer throughout the state. It was a collective effort between all utility customers throughout the state of California. Customers impacted by rotating outages are determined well in advance of a flex alert. So during the summer, if you were to look at our website, we do have a spot dedicated where you can put in your outage or your address to determine kind of what block it is. It's a block designation, and you'll see if there's a flex alert projected in the next 48 hours. It'll say what block you're in, and you'll be able to identify if your block is in the potential. And then lastly, Governor Newsom's emergency proclamation on June 30th did free up additional power supply and increase the capacity, again, mitigating. And then one more area to cover, COVID customer bill resources. Recognize that an unprecedented pandemic has led to a lot of concerns and situations where customers have been able to pay for some of their basic needs. And we recognize that utilities are one of those. And so the state did have a shutoff moratorium that they enacted. And so what that was is if customers were unable to pay any portion of their bills, some customers may not have been able to pay anything because of loss of income or just a small fraction. We did not have any shutoffs during that time frame. And here are a couple of assistance programs. A one-time energy program through the REACH that you can apply for assistance up to $1,000 to pay your past due balances. California COVID rental relief program. I know the county did have a rental relief program, so customers who are renters and lived in Selma and when were unable to pay their bill could apply, and the county had designated dollars that they would allocate and pay directly to PG&E to relieve some of that burden. And then the REACH program, it was funded through our charitable giving, and employees did donate as well, where customers could apply for a one-time $300 bill credit. We have a variety of payment plans, which includes customers that had a arrearage are automatically rolled into a 2-year payment plan that allows for flexibility, because we know that it wasn't just a 1-month period where there may have been some resources. Also, we have an arrearage management plan, which we call. So customers who are on CARE or FARA would qualify for that. You have to call PG&E directly for that. And what it does is if you owe $2,400 and that is your arrearage amount, and each month you pay on time your current bill, a portion of that is forgiven. So in a 12-month period, if you pay your bill on time, you could potentially have that 24. Then lastly, the state of California did adopt the California Arrearage Payment Program. It's being administered by CSD. They will automatically send those dollars to PG&E for customers that meet a certain criteria. They are still working with all of the investor-owned utilities as well as the CPUC to finalize that criteria. And once that is done, then the customers will receive those credits on their account. But we are still ceasing disconnection on past due accounts at this time until all of the criteria has been.
Erica, I have a quick question. Who qualifies for the AMP program?
So if you're on CARE or FARA, so a CARE discount or FARA discount, it's income qualified. So it depends on which customers they are. So like myself, I wouldn't qualify, but I can tell you in the city of Selma, 63% of our customers are on CARE.
Oh, okay.
So I heard about PG&E a couple of months ago with the mayor of Fresno, who was on the news, saying that that city looked at the prospective increases and they plan on taking action and appealing that. What are the prospective rate increases at this point?
So the prospective rate increases, we would say are, and that is based off of its entirety. So the CPUC has the opportunity to weigh in and say, you may be asking for 7.4 billion, but we are only going to authorize 1. So we won't know what the final authorization will be until late next year, like probably slightly before the December 19th, 2022.
Just if you had to ballpark the average, what's the average person's bill
So
going
I
to go
would
up?
say the ballpark average would be, if approved, the typical non-care customer bill would increase by 2023 for about $1 a day, and a care customer about 80 cents a day.
What, $1 a day? So 360 a year. Okay. And is that in terms of percentage? What's that just as a percentage?
So I think the first year percentage, because it varies year by year, would be approximately, let me see. For a non-care customer, that would be approximately 18.1% at
And
that
is it a-
$1 a day figure.
Pardon me. Is that a $1 a day increase for every year of the 4-year rate case? Or does it stop? Does it go down? Does it decrease?
No, because each year the percentage or the dollar figure does change. So when you look at it, that's why I said typically it's about a 5% increase annually, averaged out. But it would be, so 2024, 4.1%, 2025, 3.1, and then 2026, 2.4. And again, that's if it's adopted in its entirety by the CPUC. So
That's 4 years. That's 18% divided by 4 years.
so then we have the, like I mentioned, the option of the public participation hearings that take place in January, February, where members of the public are welcome to go and state their concerns that they have before the commission.
You mentioned this was for residential. What about for commercial?
For commercial, I unfortunately don't have those figures.
Are they higher or lower?
I don't want to speak to that because I don't have those figures here. I don't want to give this information.
Okay.
I apologize.
I have a couple, I have a couple of comments. First of all, Erica, thank you. Can you really, thank you for sponsoring the Senior Resource Fair to the PG&E? That's one. Number two, my biggest comment, and it's to the council, not to you, but in regards to these increases, you know, we as council, we're legislators and we need to look to the future. And you know, it comes back, and what you're bringing, it's music to my ears, because about a year ago, we shot down our solar program, and we spent $25,000 of the city funds. We should have approved that. We would have had a deadlocked in rate. We would have been able to at least absorb some of our fees that were actually, and actually, when you look at it in 3 years, it comes out to almost 14,400 that a resident will be paying in 3 years. This is a call out to us, council members, to start looking at back of the solar program that we need to go back to. We spent $25,000. This is the reason why we need to look at solar, and we need to, every other city has solar. Our city was in contracts with somebody, and we broke it off. This is exactly the reason why we need to make the importance of having solar. I thank you for your presentation. I thank your PG&E for coming and donating to the city of Selma for the resource fair. And, you know, that's all I got to say.
I actually have a question too on, because we did go solar last year personally. And so the savings, like Councilmember Trujillo said, for me personally, were significant, because just this summer I have a pool and my bill is super low. I probably pay what I paid the 1 month in the summer. I probably pay that the whole year. So my savings was significant. So on these, I get to make a choice. I mean, someone that has solar gets to make a choice whether they want to go to the tier 1 or do, what would be,
So for solar, I believe, based off of what we call NEM is like, so there are different net. Somebody who has had solar for, how we would categorize it. I believe that the newer NEM customers would automatically be transitioned into it. Whereas a customer who does not have solar, like myself, then I have the flexibility and choice, and knowing that I have that 12-month bill protection.
okay, so then we would need to call a customer that has solar would need to call PG&E.
Just to verify
to
that they would
verify.
be, that they are qualified to either opt out, or because if they're in the newer NEM categorization, that they automatically enrolled and needed to.
Are these gas and electric rates?
Yes. That
They're
is,
both.
that is for both,
Okay.
yes.
The solar applies to the gas too?
Well, no.
Solar doesn't
The solar
apply.
doesn't, but the time of,
just the
u-
part
the
of the
time
rates.
of use is just for the electric.
Gotcha.
Electric rate, but the comprehensive, with the increases, that's for a bundled customer that both receives gas and electric.
I think what I was hearing, you know, like I said, from the mayor in Fresno, it's not about the wealthier people who can afford that pretty large upfront cost to put in solar, but the people who can't afford it and the people who do live in, you know, apartments and do have to shoulder the increased cost in PG&E. And I think that that's a real concern. And hopefully someday PG&E will get in the solar business too. You know, that would really help with all the capital you have. But one last question from me. The power blackouts, do you see that increasing, decreasing, or staying the same next year?
I think it,
You know, the rolling
right, the
blackouts.
rolling blackouts, it is dependent on, because that's the statewide grid. And so the impacts to the statewide, it's what is available and what projected peak is. So we were able to avert any blackouts because of the governor's action. And so I'm hoping that we will have similar experiences next year. But I can't say, because I wouldn't be able to tell if it's going to be 115 in half of the state, and so demand's going to be higher. I couldn't speak to that. It really is a case by case, day by day situation, unfortunately.
Did anybody have any questions for Erica tonight? Okay, with that, we'll bring it back. If there are no more questions, we'll move on to our next presentation. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Really appreciate it. And our second presentation is a certificate of recognition to the Chamber of Commerce and Rotary Club of Selma. Trujillo.
Yeah, we'll do chamber first. Today we're a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce. You know, the city of Selma is very unique with a lot of people that donate and help. And I felt that it'd be important that we recognize the chamber because, you know, from it reads, and I'd like to read it because it means so much. This community has so many people, so many good people that give to this community, and they need to be recognized. We recognize you for your dedication to the city of Selma, your support with the chamber mixers, ribbon cuttings, car shows, raisin festival, concerts in the park, farmers markets, rib cook-off. That was there. It was really nice. Events that are greatly appreciated. The community is so proud of the efforts. Present this 15th day of November 2021 by Mayor Robertson, Scott Robertson, Mayor Pro Tem Bev Cho, Council Member Sarah Guerra, Blanca Mendoza Navarro, and John Trejo. We greatly appreciate the Chamber of Commerce for all their hard work and really appreciate everything they've been doing. These organizations are a must. They drive our economy. They bring they mean well to our community, and we recognize the Chamber of Commerce. Come on over, Bob. Oh, like-
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Harriman. I'm field representative for Congressman David Valadeo's office. I wanted to drop by tonight and also take part in recognizing the chamber and the Rotary. I've told Mr. Allen multiple times that it's hard to come by a chamber that's as hardworking as a chamber here in Selma. So I really appreciate everything you guys do, and always a good time getting out there and recognizing greatness with y'all.
This, okay, right here? Okay. But you guys have to come over here too, here by myself. Okay. Of course, I appreciate the recognition tonight, but the Selma Chamber of Commerce is not me. I get to have the fun doing all of the things that go on day after day, but it takes a team to put an organization like this into place and to make sure to ensure that those activities that bring the community together, and that's exactly what you do when you are a chamber, is we bring the community together to celebrate as a community. We've done that. So I would like to thank my board who works really hard at all events because I can't do it myself. And so we have past President Shar Tucker here. Will you stand, please? We have First Vice President Karen Foster. We have Director Joe Alvarez. We have Director Craig Rook. We have Director Samantha Garcia. And we have Director Bev Cho. This is half of our group. I'm sure that every activity you come to in the city of Selma and you see the people out there working, every one of our board members does that. And I forgot Virginia Lee's. I thought she was standing already. I'm sorry. And Virginia Lee. So again, on behalf of the Selma Chamber, we thank you very much for this honor. And we love working with all of you to make sure that Selma is in the forefront and we do all that we can to promote us in a positive way.
Stand by right here. Come on over. Thank you. Along with the Chamber of Commerce, we also have, we have so many groups in this community, and I thought of recognizing the Rotary. Last week or a week and a half ago, they had the parade, and we have had COVID, and this organization, I've seen them and, I'm just so grateful to seeing so many people participate. And I thought it was time for us to recognize them because the hard work that they put on. I'm not in the Rotary, but I see that, at 6 o'clock in the morning, they're at the streets. 6 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, they're there at the parks. And I really appreciate the Rotary for everything they've done. I can't tell you how many years they've been doing this, but I'm very proud of them. The council's very proud of them. So let me read it says certificate of appreciation presented to the Rotary Club of Selma. We recognize you for your dedication to the city of Selma. Your support with the annual band festival parade is greatly appreciated. This community is proud of your efforts in making a positive change. Presented this 15th day of November 2021 by Mayor Scott Robertson, Mayor Pro Tem Beverly Cho, Council Members Sarah Guerra, Councilwoman Blanca Mendoza Navarro, and John Trujillo. On over, Steve.
And I also have a congressional certificate of recognition approved for the Rotary. The certificate reads, in recognition of your commitment to the city of Selma, California, thank you for your continued support to the citizens and businesses of Selma. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
I figured my voice was loud enough. First of all, I'd like to have my fellow Rotary members come up here, please. Don't shake your heads no, get up here. I'm the president and I said so. First of all, I want to thank members of council for this honor. Really, really appreciate you all, really do. It's really an honor for me to be a president of such a prestigious organization. I can't tell you how much it means to me, but it also means to the community. These folks work really, really hard. And I can't tell you how much I really, really appreciate them all. They're all very, very hard workers, and I'm extremely proud to be a member of this club. Yes, we've done the band festival and parade. I think it's going to be year number 57 next year, right? But that's not all we do. We've done a lot of other things too. We give dictionaries to 6th graders. We read to school age students. We send kids to Camp Royal. I know I'm forgetting a bunch of them because senior interviews, that was on my list, senior interviews. One of the things that and this is my second year being Rotary president because I was the president for the COVID year, which didn't count. Anyway, so I told them that I'd be happy to stay on for the following year. And each year we have a project that the club gets to be a part of. And my first year presidency, we did the drinking fountains for our 4-legged friends and our 2-legged friends too at the dog park. And that was something that I really, really was really happy about. Shane was really instrumental helping us get that going. And it was really a 3-way collaborative effort between my workplace, California Water Service, the city of Selma, and Rotary. And with Rotary, shouldering a big part of the funds for that. So again, I'm really proud to accept these certificates, and great to be with these fine folks here and in such a nice city of Selma. So thank you very much.
Anybody want to stand?
Great job, Steve.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to our consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar category are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote. For purposes of discussion, any council member may have an item removed from the consent calendar and made part of the regular agenda. The council can then approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Does anybody have an item they would like to take off tonight?
Taking off Mayor.
Okay. Any other items? Is there a motion to approve items 1A through D?
I make a motion.
Is there a second? Call the roll, please.
For Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Item E.
On page 24. A quick question on, kind of cut off, so it's must be check number 78357 for Swanson Farming Ford for a 2021 Ford F-150 for the amount of $25,704.09. What was that for?
City Council, that was for my city truck that I purchased. City, about a year and a half ago, my city truck was hit in front of our house, but just before midnight and totaled by a person running from a house he shouldn't have been at. And so this was a replacement truck.
I have a question on page 23, top 78267. It's only $210, but it's for Action Towing and Dive Team. Is that fire? What are we doing with diving? Nobody knows. It says evidence towing. Maybe that's PD. Maybe we could check with Commander Garza. Thank you. Halfway down the page, 78290, basketball court replacement for $305.41. Is that nets for the parks?
$305, that would be the basketball rims. We had about 2 or 3 of them that had broken.
Oh, the rims.
Yeah, the nets I get at Walmart, they're a lot less expensive. These are the double steel rims. Any
Particular park where they went?
I know one went to Renlinger and one went to Ringo, and we actually have 2 more in order also.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that. Is there a motion to approve item E?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that. Call the roll, please. Second, either one.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. With that, we will move on from the consent calendar to our first item of business, which is a public hearing item. Consideration of an ordinance amendment to Section 8 of Chapter 28 of Title 11 of the Selma Municipal Code related to billboards to increase the maximum allowable face area of billboards, including electronic billboards. The proposed ordinance would also amend requirements for sign placement, design, and electronic display standards within the city. This is the introduction, first reading, and public hearing.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Steve Brandt, City Planner with QK. This is a continuation of a public hearing that you started on October the 18th. This is a request by an applicant to make changes to the code as it relates to billboards in the city. So we have existing standards for billboards and what's the maximum size and height that they can be. The request would be to make some changes to that, and then also to make some changes to where Highway 99, the billboards could be placed. So I know we went through this on the 18th. I'm going to go through it again really quickly. So the new ordinance would still require that a conditional use permit be required for a new billboard. And so this applicant would still have to come back to the Planning Commission and get a conditional use permit if you were to approve this. The changes would allow the maximum height to go from 32 feet to 55 feet and the maximum sign area to go from 300 square. Map we looked at the last meeting, it shows the location of signs along Highway 99. The blue and the orange and the yellow are highway business signs, which have different standards. The questions you had asked us to bring back was to show the difference between the oriented signs, which are for light, and then the billboard. Second column is the it's hard to say that there's a straight comparison between, they're there for different purposes, because the existing, like a business sign would be like the auto dealers or a restaurant or something like that. And so there's different sizes that are allowed in different locations. So the new ordinance would allow an area side of the city, that line in green, yellow area, which is towards the bottom of the map. Of the changes in the height and the size, visual representation of the differences between the existing. Also, the new ordinance would include requirements for architectural embellishments on the support columns, and would specify what would need to be done to allow them to be LED billboards. Or since the October 18th meeting, we did receive a letter from Outfront Media. This is a different billboard company that has billboards already. They made some suggestions in their letter. I think that's also in your packet. Some other parties should be involved in this ordinance change. To be replaced without a CUP. Maybe to cap the total number of billboards, and then also to consider billboards on Highway 43. Letter, and we did talk to them. Staff recommends that if the council wants to consider any of the things suggested by Outfront, that you direct us to do that, and we can move that into the zoning ordinance update that we're preparing. You know, as you know, we're doing a comprehensive zoning ordinance update. Wanted to keep this item tonight was presented by a specific applicant, so we wanted to bring that forward to you and then let you vote that up or down, and then give us direction on other things in a different step. Again, to summarize the options that you have, you can approve the text amendment as it's been proposed by the applicant. This was the recommendation of the Planning Commission. By the changes, and then we would make some modifications to the text amendment, such as not changing the height or the size, height and size, but not allowing them in new locations, or not allowing the electric method. Have some other direction to give us based on the letter. We can write that into the.
Thank you, Steve. So this is a public hearing item. Are there any questions from council before we get to opening the public hearing? Public input. With that, we will open the public hearing and ask for input from the public. Please come forward if you'd like.
Thank you very much, Mayor, City Council. My name is Todd Hanson. I'm the General Manager of Sun Outdoor Advertising. Sun Outdoor Advertising is a small independent billboard company, operate mostly in Central California here. The part that kind of got me here was a couple of things. First of all, we started our relationship with the City of Selma back in 2017, and we have 2 billboards that are currently in use on Highway 99. And we went through a rigorous process to get those 2 signs built. I mean, you guys have, your ordinances is spectacular today. And our view is that, that not necessarily, there's not going to be any change in the ordinance, but we were not aware of this until last week. And we felt like we were a partner with the city of Selma. We went through the whole process, the ordinances we put in play. Our property owner, John Shea, who is, you know, somebody that now was benefiting from the billboard being on their property, was not aware of it. And so there's just some things that we just didn't feel right about. And actually, we wrote a letter in last week, and I'm surprised that it was not in the agenda today, because we sent this in last Tuesday. Oh, kind of roughly about the same thing that Outfront spoke about a little bit, except the fact is that we're requesting put this down the road a little bit farther down the road, because we would like to have some input, since we're a partner, we feel, with the city of Selma on our billboards. We feel like it was something that it's kind of an unfair process if everybody in Selma knew that we were a billboard operator and we weren't brought into the process of discussions about changing the ordinances. You know, our property owner, we invested a lot of money in the signs that we built, and now going to a larger sign, a large scale sign in different zoning areas. And the bigger the sign would make our signs be less valuable, and it would hurt the property owner's income, and it would also hurt, you know, the valuation of our sign. So we put a tremendous effort into building exactly what you guys asked us to do, and now you're changing the rules. And we're having a hard time with that. We just like to have a little bit more time to talk about it with the planning commission or with the council. And, you know, that's kind of how we're at on that. Again, if you could have a copy of my letter, I have that here.
Yeah, can you leave a copy?
Yeah, I can do that.
We
Yes,
can
sir.
distribute it to council.
It just talks about, you know, our relationship with the city and what we went through. We worked with the government because of the contaminated land out here on the 99. And it's one of those ones where we thought we would have been asked about our process and about our thoughts on changing of the ordinance. Because we are in the city of Selma. And, you know, when you're going to start building larger signs, it changes a lot of aspect of the community, right? I mean, and this is probably one of the few, if not the only place where I've heard of people asking signs to be made bigger, right?
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate that,
Yeah, no
Todd.
problem, right? I should have shot at the buzzer.
Council, my name is Mark Duran, and I'm with Outfront Media became aware of this possible ordinance change on the afternoon of October 18th, just hours before it was presented to you folks. Outfront has 2 boards located along Highway 99, 2 structures, 4 faces. And when we came across this, we were concerned because we had not been notified any of this was taking place. One of our concerns is because we do have existing structures here. What does the ordinance do for that? If this ordinance is passed, structures can be made bigger, face size, height wise, but nothing is addressed as far as the current structures in place now, just as the gentleman from Sun, Mr. Hanson, mentioned. So, and with the ordinance change, usually what we do, we work with, in Fresno, out of the Fresno office out front, we work in 11 counties. So we deal with a lot of this all over the place. And what we do is we do form partnerships with the cities and counties and get together with them and help with the ordinance. So it's fair for industry, so it's fair for the cities, so it's fair for the folks that use the signs, the local business owners. And I think that should be one of the main concerns here moving forward. And I know at the last council meeting, questions were raised about as far as political signs, you know, about the Highway 43 possibly opening up. I think all of this should be looked at before anything is done, and this should be moved down the road at least 60 days to give Outfront, Sun, and any other company the chance to meet with staff, talk to council, and see what will work for everybody. Because if this we feel if this ordinance passed as it is, then what's prevented from changing again down the line? People will keep coming back. And so let's try to do it all at once. Let's form a partnership. Let's try to make it happen all at once. And so again, we want to be partners with the city of Selma. We'd like to work with you folks and get an ordinance that works for both industry, the city of Selma and its residents, and also the business owners who use these signs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else with any input at this time? Okay, with that, we will see if there's anyone on Zoom or on the phone who has any public input.
As a reminder to all the callers on the line, *9 to raise your virtual hand. We will add you to the meeting queue. Calling in by phone. 9, if otherwise, use your virtual hand and we will add you to the meeting queue. Goodman, your line is open.
Yes, hi, my name is Andy Goodman and I represent West Coast Billboards. I want to thank the mayor and the council members for hearing this item this evening. Would also like to thank staff for putting together a comprehensive report. What I'd like to remind the council that this item first came up to the Planning Commission August 23rd. At that time, there would have been public notice to all concerned residents, to all concerned businesses. Our belief at that time is the billboard companies should have been aware of the process that was happening by West Coast Billboards at that time. On August 23rd, it was continued by the Planning Commission. On September 27th, it came back up again and got a unanimous vote with one absentee not being in attendance. It moved to the council on the 18th of October, continued to November 1st, and then continued to November 15th. Our belief is that there was enough public notice put out in front of both residents and businesses that this project was moving forward. We would like to refer you to page 35 of the staff report, where it says it is staff's recommendation that further delay is not needed. I'm here to answer any additional questions that you may have at this time. And thank you very much for hearing this agenda item.
Thank you for your comments, Andy.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have any other comments on Zoom or on the phone?
Ms. Salas, your line is open.
Teresa Salas, 1701 Dinuba Avenue. I feel that this ordinance is not a detriment to any of the other businesses that currently have signs in the city of Selma. They they are certainly welcome and able to apply for new conditional use permits for any old signs that they may have. I don't think this is taking away anything that they have at this point. This and they could have certainly come in at any time in the past to request any changes to the ordinance themselves. This was brought before the Planning Commission and then to the council by another company. And I think that it is, it's a good thing for the city of Selma. It brings in more advertising. It brings in more business into the city. And I don't really see where a delay would be helpful to anyone at this point. Thank you.
And I believe Ms. Salas is a member of the Planning Commission who voted on this. Just preface those remarks with that. And voted yes, as you heard. Do we have any other input?
Mayor Robertson, those are all the callers with their hands raised at this time.
Okay, thank you. Without more input, we will in that case, close the public hearing and refer the matter back to the council. Do we have any comment from any council members at this point?
I would just like to say that at this point, it clearly states that information was put out there. There was plenty of time that other companies could have came forward. I have to agree that I'm for the nicer building. I really like, even if it is a little bigger. So we have businesses that are going to be coming to Selma. And if they want, we have to be attractive. And if they want a nicer sign and that's what they want to pay for, then we got to offer that. So at this point, you know, I think that I'd like to make a motion, move forward, just like I did the last meeting with,
And I'll second that. And with the first and a second, we'll refer the matter. We'll have more discussion.
Right, but just so we have a clear record, it was a motion to approve the zoning text amendment 2021-0010 and to introduce and waive the first reading of the ordinance, right?
That we will keep going.
Right, so yeah, so the way I look at it is, you know, we all have our difference of opinions, and we understand that the planning commission is one of our legs that actually votes and gives us some direction, but that doesn't mean that we just accept it. What we're doing here in the city of Selma these last couple of months is we're actually dictating and reshaping how our city is being developed and what we're doing. So when I look at what we're presented by with three companies, we actually have three companies that have three vested interests solely. And my question is, what's the best interest for the city of Selma? It's not what each company has, it's what the best interest for the city of Selma with you guys, with the companies that are going to come into Selma. So when I hear that, you know what, it's just make a motion, let's just prove it, we're done, we're gone. The next 3, 4, 6, 2 years later, they come back, somebody else comes back and says, hey, you know, we had a partnership with you and here we're going to do this right now. We got a bigger site. We got a bigger site. I'd like to entertain the fact that, you know, I'm not in disagreement, but what I'm in agreement is to lay down some foundation that will actually give the city of Selma some infrastructure, a structured plan that with all the joining parties, all three of you, come with the city, we have a good discussion, we come up with a good policy that we adhere to, and we all have the same folks. I understand publication was out there, I understand that, but I also understand this. Being fair and being equal. And when I say fair is good representation, actually a good discussion with all the parties with the city of Selma will bear fruits better than just coming in here and voting. And, you know, my opinion is I will approve it, but I would like for us to have our staff and the three persons with vested interest have a discussion where our staff can actually sit down and, you know, really look at what we got, 2.5 acres, 2.5 miles of the freeway, and really figure out what is our best interest and set the tone so we also have everyone involved and we understand that we have the guideline that we all approved and we're good to go. Not where we come back and we get a year from now, like the gentleman said, 2017, I thought I had a vested interest with you. You know, I just feel that being equal and being fair, and I understand that the publications were out, but my own opinion is that we go back and maybe give it another month, maybe have everybody talk and give everybody the opportunity to discuss it, come back to us. What's the difference? We're still going to approve it. We're going to approve it with some good recommendations where the city has, you know, this just approving something because, you know, the planning commission and all of a sudden we're good. I mean, I'm just saying that that's my own opinion. That's my opinion. We have 5 council members, 2 have spoken, but I'm just sharing my opinion. Thank you.
Other comments at this point?
So, and I'm not sure if this is gonna apply, but with these signs or not, but if we just have the one, I'm in agreement also with Councilmember Trujillo as far as like fairness. You know, I don't know what, and I know we don't have a procurement policy or procurement, but I don't know if that would fall in line with that. But I'm looking at what type of policy do we have to have those inputs from all stakeholders. We had a meeting here on Friday with a lot of stakeholders, and a lot of great things were, came out of that meeting. And for me, I would like to see how these signs work into that development and that those zoning updates and everything that we have there, because I don't want to come back and make a decision today that is going to have to be revised in 2 years or 10 years because we have more growth, you know. And I know we're looking, for me, I'm looking at all sides of Selma. Entrance into Selma from Fresno, I would like to see a nice sign. I'm not opposed to that because I love the sign that we have coming into Selma from Kingsburg. And I'm not sure if that's your guys', that's a beautiful sign. The one that's on the old 99 and Floral, probably yours too. Beautiful sign. So I would love to see those, but I think that it's fair to be able to work and in conjunction with everything that we have going on with the growth. I'm not opposed to approving it. I just would like to see a little bit more input. And I know a lot of times it's more heads, you have more conversations, and then you don't make a decision. But I think since we're moving forward with so many vested, interested people, I think that we need to relook at how we can tie this up a little bit more and make it work as our plan to move forward and, you know, grow.
Like I say, is my opinion. I agree with Councilman Trio. With the other two people coming in, I would say, I would like you guys all to sit down and talk about it and come up with a solution for all, you know, and that would save us time, like further down in the future, we don't have to do this again. So let's see if you guys can get it together with the staff and figure out something that we can all live with. Okay, thank you.
So I've seconded the motion because of what Councilmember Guerra said and indicated, which is, you know, there was a planning commission meeting and it was publicly noticed, it was approved. I support our planning commission. I listened to what they say and I looked at their opinion and it made sense. We've gone over this a couple of times now. We've continued it and it's really good to have the input of Mr. Hansen and Mr. Duran, and I appreciate coming and I appreciate what you're saying. You did have ample opportunity earlier to come, and this doesn't mean that you can't put your signs in the future, remodel your signs. The city's always growing. I do not agree that the city is dictating development in the future. We are collaborating with partners, and I fully agree with what I heard from Mr. Hansen and Mr. Duran that it needs to be a collaborative effort, but it has to be time-based as well. And Mr. Goodman also has time constraints as a business. He's running a business as well. And he's followed the procedures. And again, this isn't for all of these signs in the future. Any sign of this size would still have to have a conditional use permit. If I could just be permitted one aside. What came up during this discussion, and I would love for council to add it in the future, would be the on-site signs, because I think if we're talking fairness, there's not a lot of regulation of those on-site signs. And as I saw from my packet, the ones with the auto dealers clearly violate the current ordinances and, you know, they just put them in and the city didn't do anything. So that needs to change. The city not only needs to be a better partner, but needs to ensure compliance with the ordinances that we have. And I would hope that, you know, future on-site, on-premises commercial signs with messaging that's currently not allowed, I guess, and should be changed in our zoning and our ordinance review. That should be changed. I think, you know, that should be on a CUP basis as well. That's an aside. That's not the topic we're deciding on now. But I fully agree with collaborating with all of Selma's businesses. I do note that you know, when Selma changed the ordinances on the stores on advertising, the retailers, the city did not go to each retailer and say, what do you think about this? So maybe it should have, but it just didn't do it. So you know, in terms of practice, I just don't think that's a practice. Maybe in the future we should look at that. And I thank you for bringing that up. But for tonight, we have a business owner who's followed the law, followed the code, has gone to the hearings, and has an item before the council that the planning commission has approved. And I see no reason to turn this down at this time, and that's why I seconded the motion. So with that, if there's no further comment, I will ask for a roll call.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
No.
Councilmember Trujillo.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
No.
Okay, measure fails. Item 3, public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance of the City of Selma adding Chapter 1.5 to Title 8 to the Selma Municipal Code for the collection and disposal of organic waste. Report, please. Ma'am, please. Make your comments outside, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. As presented in the staff report, staff is recommending that the council hold a public hearing and waive the second reading of the ordinance adoption for Chapter 1.5 of Title 8 of the Selma Municipal Code, which would bring the city into compliance with SB 1383. I'm happy to answer any questions about the ordinance being presented. And again, the staff's recommendation is to hold a public hearing and waive the second reading and adopt the ordinance. Thank you.
For that. This is a public hearing item, so if we don't have any questions at this point, I will go ahead and open the public hearing to the public for input. Would any members of the public please step forward if they have anything they'd like to say about this ordinance?
Bob Allen, 1315 Maple, Selma, California. I've tried to read much of the background information on this, but visually I'm having a hard time as a resident understanding what this will look like for us. We're going to have 4 cans now that we have to separate the organic waste in. I'm not sure what the visual looks like for all of us.
My understanding is some will have 4 cans. Is that correct, Deputy City Manager?
This would mostly apply to commercial entities who produce organic food waste. But we are working with Waste Management on what the implementation would look like. There are some exceptions and waivers for entities that produce less than a certain amount. I think the amount is 20 cubic yards of organic food waste, but the plan is to have an additional bin for those that this law applies to.
This could be devastating for apartment complexes and all.
And there is a 2-year consultative period. Enforcement won't take place until 2024. We're told at this point.
I apologize for not doing due diligence before.
That's what we're here for.
I saw it on the agenda, and I'm, as you know, have a background in recycling, and I know what we went through to get recycling started, and it's really worked out well. But it's hard to visualize from just the notes of what this would look like for me as a.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the law, right? This is where the state's going.
That's
We have
correct.
no choice in the matter.
I know it's a law, but there are some regulations that allow you to opt out or those kinds of things along the way. So I guess that's my question is that going to be implemented in the.
There are exemptions based on size.
Yes, waivers are available, and we're going to work out the details and the qualifications for those waivers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other input?
Joe Alvarez, 1426 Grove Street. I just wanted to know about the cost for the businesses. Is it gonna be an additional cost for the businesses? And are we gonna be required to get another trash can, well, not a trash can, but one of the dumpsters? Or is it gonna be different for the business or is it gonna be same for the residents?
The estimate that we got from Waste Management in terms of the potential cost increase is between $7 to $9 for everyone who this law applies to. At this time, I don't think that that would apply to the residential customers, only the commercial customers. Correct.
What else? Anybody on the line?
As a reminder to the callers that we have on the line, the raise your hand feature, *9 if calling in by phone. At this time, one hand raised. Liz, your line is open. Liz, can you unmute your line?
There we go. Am I unmuted?
We can hear you.
Oh, it sounds like you have an echo. If you have more than one device open, can you close the other device?
Now. Can you hear me now?
Perfectly.
Oh, okay, I'm so sorry. Having technical difficulties over here in my home. I know a gentleman had asked previously about a cost involved for.
I'm sorry, can you identify yourself, ma'am?
Yes, Liz Gomez, public sector manager for waste management.
Thank you.
Yes. I wanted to address a customer that called in and asked about the cost involved. And it was thrown out there between $6 and $9. That was what the state had projected. And I did mention in my last presentation that Selma wasn't anywhere near those figures. We are still working with the city as to what those costs will be. Now, keep in mind that you are going to keep the same containers. We're not adding additional containers. The good thing with Selma is that you can add your organic waste into your green waste. So that is really why the cost is not going to be anywhere near those projections between $6 and $9 or what they had anticipated it would be, the state did. But again, we're working with the city of Selma on those things. But I just wanted to make it clear that there are going to be waivers for this. It's that we can't forego this regulation from the CalRecycle. This is not a waste management mandate. It's coming directly from CalRecycle. And I know another caller had also mentioned that, there's things that we can do to kind of circumvent or go around it. But I think they've come to the point in time where they're saying, yeah, this is not going to be an option for customers unless they do qualify under the two options are de minimis, which they don't produce enough. And it's actually not 20 yards, it's 20 gallons of organic waste per week. The average kitchen size garbage can is 13 gallons. So you're looking at, approximately 2 of those. So it's, not much, but they will have exceptions and the city will be the authority as to who will be granted those waivers. And the other option for a waiver would be de minimis, for a physical space. If you don't have any space at all to put your green waste container now, that is also going to be considered a reason why you would qualify for a waiver.
Thanks very much for your comments. Any questions? Okay. Anyone else on the line?
Callers that we have on the line, if you wish to speak, please use your raise your hand feature. We will add you to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, those are all the callers with their hands raised at this time.
There's no more public input. We will close the public hearing now and refer the matter back to the city council. Is there any input before anyone makes a motion on this?
I just wanted to clarify, and I don't know if Liz can hear me. So if we dump the green or what is it? Our
Food waste, organic food waste.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the organic food waste, we cannot put it in your plastic bags that you get from the grocery store. It has to be in the brown paper bag, right?
It could be in a brown paper bag, it could be loose, but yes, the plastic bags have always kind of been an issue in our regular recycling. They get caught in material. They're, fly away, they're not recyclable. So yeah, not putting your organic food waste in plastic bags is preferable. I know we're going to get some people who do that. They're, with the education piece that we have going on, we're really hoping that could deter folks from doing that. And before we issue any type of warnings or, any type of fees at all, there will be a good period of, educating customers to let them know what can and cannot be done. But going back to your question of, plastic bags it's not preferred to put those into the green waste with your organic waste.
Okay, thank you.
No questions?
I have one. Hi, Liz, this is Bev.
Hi. Yes, Bev.
Okay, seems like in a residential, they can work with it, but when we go commercial, like with the
Mhm.
restaurants, I think basically that's gonna be a really tough problem, especially if they're only picking up once a week. You imagine in the summertime, 100 and something degrees, and you're dealing with food, leftover food and raw food. That's what basically, when we take, meat off a bone or something, that will be in the same thing. And in a week's time, I'm afraid the stink will kill you, plus the maggot. It's really not gonna be a good situation. So is there any solution for that?
Yes, what we've considered probably looking at those months where we are going to have those, like July, August months where we do have very, very high temperatures, is to increase service for, on a temporary basis. So it won't be ongoing all the time. We have to increase service or decrease service depending on, what the weather especially will dictate towards that. But yes, looking at, when there is an additional pickup or service, we would have to then look at what that would look like as far as a cost involved in that. And we know that, it's going to be on a temporary basis because we don't have that temperature all the time, but we do take that into account. We tried this already with, some of our green waste customers, putting the food in there. And yes, we did notice that it was just not ideal to have it sitting out there an entire week. So increasing service for that during those really hot months is something that we were going to be looking into.
Good, thank you.
Liz, I have a quick question. Okay,
Yes.
for the green waste can or bin that we have,
Yes.
we use that for, let's just say, tree limbs, grass, things like that. So you're saying that throwing organic waste into that, you can mix it in?
That's correct.
Is what you're saying, as long as it's in a
Yes.
brown paper bag?
It could be loose or in a brown paper bag. Yes.
Okay.
That's ideal. But that is correct. Yeah. So we don't have to have an additional container out to your home where that would make 4 cans now. We don't have to do that. In some cities it have to, in some other areas they do because the processor where that material goes to doesn't allow for that, but ours does. And we have a facility in South Valley that we can do that as well.
So the waiver, Liz, is not, we produce as households less than 20 gallons a week of organic waste, so we can put the organic waste wherever we want.
Into your green waste. Into your green waste. You can
waste bin.
waste into your
You have
green
to put
waste.
into your green waste bin.
Yes, that's what the
And
state
you're,
is requiring.
and you're saying a waiver applies to businesses as well that produce less than 20 gallons a week. of this
Correct.
organic waste.
Yes, for the businesses is where we're looking. I would assume that that's where mostly the waivers are going to be applied. Because there are businesses out there like a chamber, like a Rotary that don't produce that type of green
And
waste.
what does that waiver mean? They won't be charged the additional fee by waste management or an additional
Well, they
pickup or can, or
There
that
is
waiver?
not going to be any type of, service for organics for them because, they either don't have green waste right now. If they have green waste, they will, go ahead and keep that with the 3-can system. But a commercial customer doesn't have to sign up for it, or it's not required that they participate in the organics program because they don't produce enough of it.
We could sign a waiver.
So there'll be a sign up where the state
Yes.
monitors those and asks
Correct.
the city to enforce those rules, or the county, depending on where you're located.
It would be the jurisdiction that you reside in or your business is in. And then we would monitor all those waivers and let the CalRecycle know, okay, these are the ones that the city has deemed that they are eligible for the waiver. And then, CalRecycle, either they'll do an audit or they'll say, okay, that's fine, or whatever, however they're going to follow through on their end. But our steps for the city would be then making sure that we document all those and have all the applications and everything in order so that the CalRecycle could see those.
And this applies to everybody in the state.
It applies to everyone, every single jurisdiction in the state.
Gotcha. And the Department of Cal Recycling has how many people who work there right now?
Oh,
to do these
several
audits?
hundred, several hundred that do the audits, yes.
Will
Yeah.
some of these money from the inevitable fines they'll be levying in 2024 pay for more inspectors?
It could be, it just depending on how well the programs are implemented and how well people are following it. I feel like in our cities, especially in Selma, we're not going to have any issues with any fines imposed to the city. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen by making sure that all the programs are in place and everything, we've checked everything that the SB 1383 requires of the jurisdiction. And we don't foresee any fines being imposed on the city of Selma. Now, customer-wise, that just depends if they, can follow the rules and everything, they're able to comply with that. Fair warnings to them, issuing citations, then we'll follow those warnings.
Thank you.
And Liz, I didn't have a question, but since you
Yes.
brought up some issues, now I have a question.
Okay.
Going back to the restaurants and the businesses.
Yes.
So when the first question I have for you is, who's going to dictate what these waivers, who gets the waiver? Who's going to set the policy here? Is it going to be the city and yourself?
The CalRecycle has already developed and created all the guidelines for the waivers. We have an application in process, and they're the ones that are dictating. If you produce less than this amount, you can apply for a de minimis waiver.
So my question is in regards to the businesses in Selma. So I've been, because I own a restaurant also.
Yes.
And I have a very hectic, an alley that's very, I guess,
Limited.
short and yeah. And I've noticed in the last 3-4 years, I've noticed that we have businesses that don't even have a trash bin, and we have some businesses that have trash bins. So, who dictates and monitors the fact in your company that dictates and tells us what size a dumpster or a bin that individual company gets? And what do you do with companies that are subletting and have 3 or 4 or 5 companies in their own office? And how do you manage that? Because at the end of the day, when you're talking about limiting, giving out more services, well, that to me, that raises a big flag saying, on the hot months for the restaurants like myself, you're going to give us double service. Well, to me, automatically, I tell myself, well, you're going to charge us somewhere down the road. The city, we're going to have to pay for it. And I say this because I've gone from chaining my dumpsters to putting locks on them to they break the locks to now I've just decided that I'm going to clean all my neighbors because I want to keep it clean and I'm being positive here. So the question I have for you is, when we come and we start talking about these kind of policies, the first thing I think about is, what are we doing and how are we securing that every business is being adequately charged? That's one. And do we know how many businesses are actually how much they're receiving and how much, because as a restaurant, we're going to be the most affected because we're going to have to, right now we have a green, a white, and I guess we'll have another one. And, we have alleys that are very small. So the question is, what's your team doing about that? And how are you guys, I would love to hear that you guys are, gathering more resources and figuring out who does pay and who doesn't pay and how you're doing the subletting part and, because that's a savings also.
So customers are allowed to share bins, especially where there is a limited space. So let's say in the downtown quarter especially, 3 or 4 customers make there and they have one account and the account is split up between all of the, 3 or 4 parties, whoever it may be. We don't dictate the size. It's necessarily the customers themselves will tell us, okay, this is what, historically we're producing, or this is what we've always had, is this working? It's not. We're allowed to change service levels at any time that you want to. If you feel it's too much or too little, that's totally up to the customer's needs. We're not saying, you have to have a 10-yard bin or more, and you're a small customer. No, that's not how that works. Every customer, of course, is, mandated to sign up for service. So, what we allow the bin sharing because that was just something that's part of the agreement. That's what's always in place. And so, we continue with that. If that's something that's not working for some customers, that's something that we can always bring back to the city and say, okay, customer can't share bins anymore. We have to figure this out somehow. But, always continually looking at how to better identify customers' needs and what they have, what they don't have. When we're talking additional services for, this SB 1383, some of the things that we're looking at, it's not just the actual, the implementation of the service, because that's going to be the easy part. The harder part, or what's going to require more, is the route monitoring, looking at every single route in Selma and actually physically, or with our technology that we have in place, we can monitor each route and what comes out of there. Are they clean? Is it contaminated or whatever? The state is requiring that of every jurisdiction. So those are some of the other additional costs involved in this legislation. But I think the easier part will be that you're allowed to put organic waste into your green waste. Now, if a customer right now doesn't have that, they probably are not utilizing that service because they don't need it. So, again, we have to go through with a fine tooth comb and look at every single customer and what they're producing, what they're not. Are they serviced correctly? That's an ongoing process that we do. We audit our customers pretty much yearly to make sure that that's happening. Even though it seems like maybe it doesn't seem like we're doing that, we are doing that type of to make sure that the bills being distributed correctly amongst the customers who are sharing the bins and those types of things. But I'm hoping that, maybe that addressed some of your questions. There was a lot in there that you were asking of, but I think you wanted to know, how are we going about making sure that customers have what they need, or, yes, when there may be an additional cost for an extra pickup because that's an added, again, service that's needed. It's not that we're requiring it. It's the state, and you don't want it out there all week long. So for those months, we'll have to figure out how to make sure that it's being disposed of correctly.
Thanks a lot, Liz. Appreciate your response. Is that good?
Okay.
Great. Is there a motion? Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Member Trujillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho?
Yes.
Mayor Robertson?
Yes, and with that, we'll take a 5-minute break and come back at 7:56.
Crazy.
awesome. Sounds really good. With that, we'll go back into session. And our next item is a regular business item, professional services agreement amendment to extend services for the Downtown Business Improvement District, BID, to include formation of the bid. Report, please.
Evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Tracy Tosta, the economic developer for the City of Selma. And I just wanted to give a brief overview on what we did with the bid. As you know, it was funded through a USDA Rural Business Development Grant that we were awarded. It was actually the first grant that I applied for with the City of Selma. So it's really nice to see it kind of coming to fruition and now tapering off as we look at moving into the formation of a bid. So the item before you tonight is an extension of the contract with AMI Concepts for the formation period, which would involve recruiting an advisory board, doing additional business outreach to make sure that we have a full and complete list, and dealing with the legal aspects of standing up the bid. With the bid, we did have 15 different meetings with various businesses and members of the community in our downtown area, including an open house. Several of you have attended a variety of those meetings. And I've got a few of the folks here today behind me, and I'm very happy to see that our downtown businesses are coming out to hopefully share some comments with you about their experience. It was overall a really good process. We have additional funding from the Transit-Oriented Development Grant. And with that, we may be able to afford additional outreach or additional activities related to the bid as we move into the formation period. The fee structure for it was based on whether or not a business has a license. As you know, some businesses not required to have a license. In the management district plan that it was drafted by the group, they decided on a fee structure that is 100% of the business license fee for those that have licenses, and then $100 a year annual fee for those that do not. With this budget, they estimated about $25,000 in an annual budget for the bid, which would go to 3 key areas, which were marketing, visual improvements to the downtown area, and also work on business recruitment to help fill vacancies and increase the business diversity of downtown. And actually with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jan if she would like to make comments, if that's all right with you, Mayor.
Please come forward.
Jan Minami with AMI Concepts. I first of all want to thank you all who came to the open house in September. Very well attended by council members. And I also want to thank you for having what I feel is the foresight to address the merchants in downtown Selma with the formation of the bid. It gives a common voice for the merchants when they're dealing with you or where they're dealing with the public. And it really, bids in other areas have done a tremendous job of improving, even with small amounts of money, making big, visible improvements in the downtown area. And I think that's definitely going to happen in Selma. Have any questions of me?
I'm just on the fee structure. I'm looking at 2 different amounts. There's one for 9,675, and then there's one for 29,000. So what amount are we looking at tonight here?
9,000 and whatever the dollars are. I don't know.
9675. That's on page 81, but the contract says the amount shall not exceed $29,000 for the total term of the agreement. Does that include the first part that you
That
did
is
with the
first
city?
part. Yes,
Okay.
that was the first part up to getting the management district plan together. There is a second amendment to the original contract to do the formation process.
And this is the second amendment to that
Yes,
contract
This is
to do the formation process.
It's actually the first amendment. There's a
First amendment.
contract and one amendment. The contract is the larger amount. We held meetings. We did a variety of things in getting the management district plan into place. The second part is the formation, which is some legal stuff Also working with property owners, organizing an advisory board, applications and all of that sort of thing. So that's the second smaller amount.
That's why it won't take as much time
Right.
as the first phase did.
Correct.
Thank you. Other questions at this time?
Jan, can you give an example of the money allocation, how it's going to be allocated?
The money that's coming into
That's
the
going to be
bid,
coming in. Yeah, give a clear description.
that actually will be decided by the advisory board. That's not something that I determine, but in other bids, I've seen it work. Like Tracy mentioned, it's marketing. There was quite a bit of discussion about getting more retail and restaurant businesses into downtown Selma to make it more walkable. And that's why business recruitment is part of what was decided here. But again, it's the advisory board that makes the final decisions, whether it's what's spent on marketing, how that marketing money is spent. That doesn't answer it very well, does it? But I really can't, because I'm not making those decisions.
And the council
advisory
decides
board.
on the advisory board based on applications submitted during the amendment to the contract phase?
Correct.
I do have a question, and I know this is probably more to the advisory board, but when I go downtown, I see, a lot of existing businesses that have been there. A lot of them are, things that don't stay open at night. So there's beauty shops, there's,
Right.
a couple other, type of businesses. I think there's like maybe 4 restaurants, I think is what is in there. So I'm just thinking, where would we bring more businesses in without, booting people out, basically? I don't want to say it like that, but I mean, I'm just trying to figure out where we can grow it without losing what we have. Because I can tell you I have a family member that is, does beauty services, and her clients are comfortable where she's at. A lot of these businesses there in downtown, they have their established clientele, they have their established, business. And so for them to move, not only is it them, but it's also their clientele that they're used to, going there. So as I'm looking downtown in that area, I'm just thinking, where can we put more people without, having anybody
Yeah.
relocate?
I feel from the steering committee, there was nothing about moving any existing
Relocating.
businesses out of downtown Selma. But there are businesses that are closed. There are businesses that choose to move somewhere else. And the committee was, they wanted going forward, the advisory board to be very aware of those changes and be involved in who comes in if someone goes out. There was no intention of getting rid of anybody.
Okay.
It was just being cognizant of how the downtown is evolving and being part of the decision-making for that.
Yeah, and like I said, I just wanted to make sure that nobody was being
No.
relocated.
There was
and-
no intention.
Okay.
There's no intention.
So
to
then we
that.
do have some businesses or some structures that can go in and be something else. Like if they were a beauty salon before, now we can turn it into a restaurant, or now we can turn it into, I don't know. I mean, I'd really like more restaurants downtown, but or housing or whatever it is that we have. So, okay, thank you.
The group just felt that it was important that the merchants as a whole become more aware of that concept. And as an organization, not a formed organization, but as a group that works together and has a more unified voice, they can speak to what they feel about how the makeup of the businesses as it evolves, not to disrupt anything, but as it evolves.
Thank you.
I just, I'm actually, I went in there, when I went to the meeting, I went, a little skeptical, but I came out of there 100% backing it. And you guys, you know, looking back and looking at what you guys are doing, you're really already, you're actually accomplishing one goal, and that's already getting unified. You're unified, you're unifying people that are actually believing in what the mayor's been preaching. You know, we want music downtown. We want, you know, we want people walking. And, you know, I'm in downtown, and one of the things I walked out of there, and me and Fox Drugs, we talked and we said, hey, I'll open later and I'm gonna stay. And I vowed that. And I think next week we're gonna start doing dinners. We'll be open every day, you know? And, but those are investments that we as a business owner have to invest ourselves. I was one business that sat in downtown and said, hey, my business is not something that's adequate for downtown. So I moved and I've expanded. We as business owners will only start doing that with you guys, the BID discussing and having a formation of a group that we don't participate, but we actually adhere, and we have to have a vision and saying that we want the downtown. You know, the mayor and ourselves, we've talked about that the downtown needs to get it, you know, be active and get it going. But we have to also participate and have a vision. And, you know, that's, you guys are doing the number one. The number one is you're getting everybody together and talking. And that's important. So I applaud you guys, and I hope that, you know, we can keep moving this and you know, and you got my attention. You got me to open up for dinner, and you got me to start doing things. So that in itself is a plus, you know? So I commend you guys, and hopefully I can see this, you know, materialize and become greater.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any comments from any of the folks who came tonight who were in attendance at the meetings?
Star Tucker, 2411 Country Club. Mr. Mayor, City Council, our meetings were very productive, and we've worked a long time with various organizations and committees on trying to bring more retail downtown, to give people that come downtown a reason to stay. If we do events in the park, what's going to bring them on over downtown? More restaurants, more retail. We certainly, as Jan said, had no intention of moving anybody out, but hoping to find ways to encourage more retail and businesses. Music downtown, I think, is something that we've all wanted for a long time. And we would just encourage people, I'm sure the advisory board would encourage people to get involved and find ways to, you know, maybe stay open later. Provide people that do come out after work to shop for those stores downtown to be open. I know sometimes if I leave work at 5 or 5:30 and need to stop and get a raffle gift, where do I go? Most places downtown are closed. So I've got to go to Walmart or Walgreens, but it would be really great to be able to shop local downtown. So it was a great opportunity to sit on this committee, and I hope that the advisory board will take this great project to heart and help us find a way to bring more retail and restaurants to our downtown area. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Samantha Garcia from Martin Jewelers, 1921 High Street. I just wanted to also clarify that the downtown business district, it wouldn't just be High Street. It extends far. I wish we had the map up, but it extends quite a bit. So we did want to consider that downtown is not just High Street. Downtown exceeds Aaron's and East Front, McCall, and Third. Thank you, Cheryl. Because it's not just High Street. So we wanted to be very inclusive in that, because it needs to represent where the central hub of the city, you know, started out and grew from there. Also, too, I wanted to, from our perspective, I'm going to speak on just more awareness and like a pride in your business. I know not everyone has the feasibility to take pride in their business, but gaining the money to help one another that are part of the bid. That way, you know, I know there's like a facade grant going on, but also like, you know, the plumbing issue, the roofing issue. I know that there are a lot of tenants in other in downtown businesses that don't own their building, but they want to be in downtown, and so they rent. Just kind of helping them stay there, maintain their business, and give them money to, you know, they start out. We get a lot of turnover. I've only been in downtown for 12 years, but I've seen a lot of turnover just on High Street, but also surrounding streets. So the main thing is retaining business, I would say, is a goal that I would like to see in the advisory. Getting more. We know we need more. Downtown can't sustain itself the way it is. That's why we have so many vacant buildings downtown and surrounding areas. Walk our downtown to be a part of it. It is very hard to get people to stay downtown once they come. You know, they come get their medications, they come for maybe like paying a bill, you know, PG&E, Cal Water, you know, insurance, and then they take off. They don't really stay. Definitely, I think the advisory board should look to how do we keep people downtown for like an hour or longer? How, you know, besides a quick meal or I know that with the building of the art center, that does help keep people downtown for an extended period of time, but outside of just a play. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
So, wow.
Whew, everybody up. Anybody else? Now that we're all fully awake and ready to roll? Okay, with that, we'll bring it back to council. Or do we, just as an aside, do we have anybody on the line who'd like to comment at this point?
As a reminder to the callers on the line, please use your raise your hand feature and we will add you to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, I do not see any hands raised at this time.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll bring it back to council. Is there any further discussion at this point? I know, you know, Selma's been in a process, kind of a continuum here, and it's really been about Selma asserting itself and having a voice. And, you know, one of the elements was electing our own mayor last year. Selma had a voice. Now it's, what are we going to do with our downtown? Well, who should decide that? Should it be 5 people up here? No, it should be the people downtown. It should be the business owners and the building owners downtown who decide that. And I really think this downtown business district is going to give a voice to those very people who are the stakeholders, who have a direct stake in what happens in the downtown. And I think this is, for that reason, this downtown business improvement district, and also to increase the economy of the whole city, I think is really valuable, and it's a necessary next step. I think it's just seeing this with Jan having attended a few of those meetings. I think we're on the right path. We, like Jan said in her letter, downtown Selma business owners are both a delight and a challenge to work with. So we're a good fit, aren't we? So anyway, I'm looking forward to moving forward with this and seeing the results of that. And I did have one question on the advisory board. Will that turn over every year, or is that just, will there be bylaws? Will the city council decide on kind of a way that runs?
The advisory board will be put together. There's 7, I believe, 7 advisory board members. They will be appointed by the city council based on the applications and recommendations to council. They will every year, they meet monthly and they review how the monies are being spent and the management of that. Every year they create a budget, and the applications will happen every year. So, but in reality, some of the same people will remain on the advisory board, but it is an annual
It'll be staggered.
application.
Some of them come up the year one, some of them come up at year two.
There's no,
So you don't lose
I
everybody.
don't think there's a limitation on the number of years that they can serve. But again, those are things that you as council members can determine, and that can be part of the resolution to form the bid. That can be something that you can put into that. Again, we'll be working with the city attorney and getting the legal parts of the resolution so that that will be considered by you. And we can include that if that is a recommendation going forward. Again, this will come to you 2 more times because the resolution of intent will be brought to you, and then there are public hearings, and then the final approval of the ordinance. So at any time, council can make adjustments to what is being proposed.
Which I don't foresee, but it's probably important to have that, to kind of know the details ahead of time rather than figuring it out after it goes into effect.
It's basically based on the management district plan.
Comments, or is there a motion? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Yes.
Okay, passes. Next item is adoption of the Fresno County Council of Governments Vehicle Miles Traveled Implementation Regional Guidelines Technical Report. We are not having item 5 tonight. That will be considered at another time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steve Brandt again. So the state, in its infinite wisdom, made some changes to the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as we call CEQA, with regards to how we are supposed to analyze the environmental impacts created by traffic from new projects. So what we've been doing for many years was looking at what's called level of service, which is basically a way to analyze the traffic congestion that could be generated by a new project. The change that they made and that they require us to now analyze is called vehicle miles traveled, which is analyzing what are the total miles traveled that a new project could generate. So if you look at the theory, a project that would be on the outskirts of town would likely generate more vehicle miles traveled than a project that's right in the middle of town. And so for better or worse, that's the way that we have to now start analyzing it. What we need is a methodology so that we can tell the developers and tell their traffic engineers how are we going to measure that. And so what we're bringing before you is adoption of the guidelines and procedures that Fresno COG has put together. They did a lot of work to help the member cities who didn't want to do the study themselves and figure it out themselves. So a number of other cities in Fresno County have adopted this Fresno COG model, and we're bringing this before you because to recommend that we adopt it also for Selma. We think that it makes sense. My colleague Trevor Stearns has gone through it in detail, looked at the technical part of it, and believe that absent us going out and hiring our own engineer and doing our own full study, this could be something that we can adopt and we can use and what they need to do.
Thank you, Steve. And just to add to what Steve mentioned in his report, this adoption that staff is recommending is really sort of a stopgap measure because we do intend to come back at a later time. And it's something that was brought up at last week's workshop on Friday, that this, VMT issue is really impacting developers and the uncertainty that it creates for them as they move their projects forward. We do intend to come back and do our own analysis to narrow it down to what the impacts are to Selma specifically, because by adopting the Fresno COGS model, this was a regional analysis. And so, what the impacts are in Fresno are not the same as the impacts in Kingsburg or Selma or Sanger or really anywhere else. I mean, some of the cities have similarities, but what we're trying to get down to is if a 50-unit multifamily project comes in, what are going to be the true vehicle mile traveled impacts for this community? And so, but in the meantime, developers need to know, okay, well, how big does our project need to be in order to actually have to do an EIR, for example, or can we get screened out, if we build less units, those kinds of things. So that's going to help us move existing projects forward. But down the line, we do intend to kind of do our own analysis that's more fitting to Selma.
I have a question. Fernando. The VMT, is there a consultant firm out there that does that? Are you going to be looking for that? And have you got any feel for what the time frame would be on that?
Sure. Yeah. There's quite a few consultants out there because this is a statewide issue. I mean, every community is dealing with this requirement from the state. Locally, I know VRPA consulted with the Fresno COG to develop their guidelines. There's a few locals that we've reached out to. We've gotten recommendations from QK and other folks. As far as the timeline goes, I'd hesitate to say, but Clovis has been in development of their own guidelines and their own program for a while. And as we heard last Friday, they're developing a fee that they would charge developers as a mitigation measure so that, we're not having to create for every project, reinvent the wheel basically and say, this project needs to do a bike lane to reduce VMTs. This project needs to, add a transit stop. But as far as the timeline goes, it just depends on what we want to do.
Yeah, I think it's really important because since we have last week we had the main stakeholders here, and because of that, we're open-minded and we're actually talking to them. It's a good time to be talking what, the P's and Q's of what it's costing and what the time frame is. It actually gives them, the understanding that we are here to play and, set the tone. So thank you, Fernando.
And Fernando, can you, so that people understand what BMT means, if you're building a complex of 50 people, or say a 50-unit complex, what they're meaning is how many parking lots are you allowed?
Not exactly. So what the concept is let's say you build a multifamily unit on the west side of town, but most of them, or excuse me, on the east side of town, but most of them are going to be traveling, let's say we anticipate to Walmart to do the grocery shopping. Okay. That's going to create a lot more miles traveled by those residents than if somebody who lived right next door to Walmart, for example. The projects that combine commercial uses with residential uses have a lot less VMTs associated with them. So, with our general plan and zoning ordinance update, we are looking at adding more mixed use zones so that we can reduce those VMTs and those impacts. But really what it comes down to is for every resident that lives in that new development, how far are they going to have to travel to go to school, to work, to everywhere where they would need to go. So how many miles are they actually traveling in their vehicle on a daily basis?
And that's important because we can go to state and federal grants because they're offering and they're actually that's one of the drives that they're doing right now, right?
Yes. So
that's really important.
And the state really is looking at active transportation funding to really reduce vehicle miles traveled. And you talk about, the bike lanes and adding, we're even hearing, them funding electric scooter stations around different cities, so that, you don't have to drive, you can just take an electric scooter. So they're trying to be innovative in funding these types of projects. But at the end of the day, you know, for a community like Selma, who, for example, doesn't have, you know, its own transit system, you know, where we have local routes that take you from Walmart to, you know, to your apartment complex. We're limited in our options of what we can do. So a fee makes a lot of sense, and grants aren't necessarily going to pay for, you know, new development that doesn't incorporate, you know, bike lanes and wider sidewalks and things like that. So.
But this is something, like you say, a stopgap, a temporary measure to get us legal, get us in compliance, and then we can tweak that with the help of a consultant, as Councilman Trujillo says, and maybe stay on the lookout with COG. They're providing these guidelines. Maybe they'll have a program right down the line for us smaller cities to utilize, to have a more comprehensive or more applicable, I should say, relevant VMT plan.
Right.
And it's going to take some time, right? To, as back and forth with the developers, like what we heard on Friday, that one developer, I believe from KB, said, you know, sewers, ponding basins, and VMT, those are my three concerns. And that was a big one, you know, so this is definitely a hot button issue for the folks who are coming here to Selma and developing and moving our economy forward here. So I think it's really important to move forward on this and take a look at it. We did a couple of years ago, we had an apartment complex that was proposed in a really difficult area off of Dinuba, multi-unit, remember that?
Self-help project.
Yeah. And self-help was going to build it. And, you know, just about everybody was against it because the parking, I mean, we're 80 units and like 60 parking spaces. So is that another issue, that the parking spaces are going to be reduced? I mean, all it's going to do in Selma is people are just going to park off site, right? On the street.
Right. Yeah, from my understanding, you know, reducing parking spaces could be a mitigation measure, but the way that you do that is with an incentive to the residents to, let's say, carpool or car share or voluntarily give up their parking spaces. We don't necessarily have to adopt that. I mean, it's at our discretion what those mitigation measures are going to be. We don't anticipate needing to do that necessarily here in Selma, but it is something that we could look at. But at the end of the day, as long as we have the required electric vehicle charging station stalls, and then we are able to provide adequate parking to meet our zoning ordinance, because we still have to comply with our own parking requirements in our ordinance, we should be okay. But we're not looking at, you know, requiring a cap on the number of parking spaces.
Besides what triggers an EIR, really what starts this process.
Yeah, I mean, the EIRs.
Give and take, huh?
Yeah, exactly. It just depends on the project.
Okay.
Mhm.
A question, and I don't know if you know this or not, but tax credits, is this part of, you know, like affordable housing and all of that? Is this something that they will consider as well when they do these projects? Is that something that's a requirement? Because I know when we do our properties and there's certain points that we get for the services, you know, around, we have to have, you know, when we do the pinning of where we're going to build the homes or the apartments, we have to have certain amenities within a certain radius, right? So does this play any part in that? Do you know?
Yeah, it's very related. So we have a concept that's called transit-oriented development. So what that means is that, you know, if you're building, let's say, an affordable housing complex, you do get points if you're applying for a federal grant or a home grant to build that project, if you're within a quarter mile of a transit stop. So, but because the theory is that that's going to reduce the amount of vehicle miles traveled, because people can actually just walk to the bus stop and get to where they need to be. But again, in a community like Selma that is lacking in the transit system, I think that's less of a feasible option.
But if developers are willing to do those, then that gives them that leverage,
Yes.
and then they can use this.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, we could still qualify for those transit-oriented development dollars because we do have, you know, FCRTA who does provide service. They differentiate between
Not
high
to interrupt,
quality-
but just real
Yeah.
quick, just 2 years ago, we got a TOD grant to put a bus stop, to move the bus stop, remember, from Tucker over to where it is now, because the police station, did we use all that money, or is that money that the city didn't use to move the bus stop, could that be used to put in a bus stop, to help these developers out, to put in a bus stop in the future?
I'd have to look.
That
at
helps,
that
right? To reduce the
specific-
VMT, or that might be
Yes.
one of the mitigation measures.
Definitely. Yeah. TOD, transit-oriented development definitely helps to reduce VMT. So,
Pardon the interruption.
yeah, no, it's okay, but that's a good point. Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other questions I can answer?
Anybody have any input at this point?
Question is more for our city planner. Are these guidelines
You
that
identify
COG
yourself first,
Oh,
just
sorry.
for.
Louis Franco, 1064 Mill Street. Are these guidelines, the COG guidelines, are they set in stone? Are they going to be revised like every 5 year, 2 year, or when are these guidelines? And by entering in this resolution, is that binding? Like are we trapped in there for a year, or we can just get out, opt out should the city decide to go their own path?
No, those are good questions. We don't believe that COG has any plans to revise or update the thresholds that they've and the guidelines that they've got. They think that they've got something that works. That doesn't mean that if they realize a year or two from now or 5 years that they want to update it, that they might do that. I don't know. And it's the same thing for Selma. So we can adopt this tonight, and as Fernando said, we can go out and do our own study, and then if we like that study better, then we can adopt that one instead. So we can change the threshold requirements when we want to, but we need something now to get started because right now we have nothing.
Okay, with that, we'll bring it back. Do you have something to add?
Yes, this is Trevor Stearns with QK. In addition to what Steve Brandt had mentioned, just to kind of bolster that fact, the state used CARB's numbers for their greenhouse gas emissions plans, their reduction plans.
CARBs is
CARB is California Air Resource Board.
Okay.
And so those numbers are proving that the VMT legislation, that's what the origin was using that agency's greenhouse gas emissions thresholds to bolster Fresno COG's analysis. So those numbers from that state agency are used to bolster that. So the likelihood that Fresno COG's analysis is going to change is unlikely because it's already backed up by that statewide plan.
There a motion
I'll make a motion
I'll second it.
to approve?
to approve.
Call the roll, please.
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Okay. Last regular business item tonight. Consider request from Selma Business Collaborative and Selma Chamber of Commerce to waive cost of installation of banners for the Selma Military Banner Program and extend time limit for temporary exempt signs.
Good evening again. This is Tracy Tosta, Economic Developer with City of Selma. And just going over the program that's being proposed is a group of community members who are interested in honoring our veterans in any of the 5 branches of the military, either residents who have family members who have served or residents who have served that live here, or any combination of family members that may be a part of the military, wanting to honor these folks and install signs in their honor along Whitson Avenue. In talking with Shane for the feasibility of what portion of town we could cover and how much space we have, we've proposed that Whitson Avenue between, I guess it's Park Street and Floral. There are several poles along the center median that would double hang, and we could have approximately 78 banners in that area. The group is requesting for a couple of items. One, for our Public Works Department to be able to install and remove the banners. Also, to extend the exempt signs section of our code. Currently, it's limited to 40 days to hang banners such as this, but they're looking to honor veterans between Memorial Day and Veterans Day, so that's from May to November. We don't currently hang any holiday banners along these posts, so it wouldn't be interrupted by other banner programs that we have. And the fees associated with that, we're asking for no more than $10,000, which covers the time it takes to install and take them down. Since there's no hardware currently on those structures, the public works staff would have to go in and install the hardware and then to be able to attach and remove the banners. So once the hardware is up, it would just be a one-time installation, then a little bit quicker up and down. But the estimation was for 2 staff members to have a boom lift truck out there to install the banners. Any questions on the?
Tracy, I have a question. You know, I'm a military family and I love this idea. And I know this idea was brought, I would say in the summertime, from Sarah Bonilla. She mentioned about doing these banners now, because I don't know if you got the price, Mike, from Sanger. Did you contact Sanger? Because Sanger has a really nice, they do this all year round. So I'm just wondering, you mentioned only 8 banners?
No, there would be approximately 80 banners.
80 banners,
Yes.
okay. I was gonna say, because that's gonna fill up a family real quick.
Yeah,
you
it
know.
would depend on the fundraising events
Yeah.
between now and March to be able to sell all of those and have those sponsored either by businesses or private citizens or the
Right.
families themselves.
Okay.
Okay, I'll ask. So who pays for the banners?
I'm sorry?
Who pays for the banners?
It could be a combination. I do believe they're seeking donations. So if a business sponsors, they may have their name along the bottom saying sponsored by, Fox Drugs or something like that. But private citizens can sponsor it for a family member that, the service member could buy one for themselves if they want. So
Is that going to be the usual, the citizen who has members of the family in the military would provide the banners? So
Yeah,
you're
I believe
asking
that
for
would
the
be-
$10,000 budget amount for just installation and removal of the sign, not
That's-
for
yeah,
the
just
cost
the
of the
staff.
banners
Mhm.
themselves? Okay, what if they can't pay for the cost of the banners?
there's also a sponsorship opportunity where businesses may be asked to provide funds to sponsor for the group.
Really important to have that for family members who have served, are served, or, have unfortunately given their life for our country. Really important to have that memorial. One other, I guess, related question: who is the Selma Business Collaborative?
It is, I don't know if Shar, if you want to come up and tell us a little bit more about your group. It's in association with the chamber. It is a group of businesses here in Selma, similar to the Business Alliance and just another group supporting the community.
Tucker, 2411 Country Club. Mr. Mayor, City Council, the Selma Business Collaborative was formed a few years back. It's a 501c3 because the chamber is not. So we would most likely have everyone that pays for this or sponsors it write their checks to the Business Collaborative.
Because when I looked on the Registry of Charitable Exchange, it just says they're not even registered. Selma Business Collaborative isn't even registered. There's no financial documents. The reason I'm asking who's involved in the Selma Business Collaborative is there's no information on the registry, where all nonprofits are required by state law to register themselves, provide, tax returns, lists of shareholders and titles. There's none of that for Selma Business Collaborative. So at this point, if there were donations that go through Selma Business Collaborative, I don't know if they would be tax advantaged because they are not a 501c3. Why not just use the Selma one, the Enhancement Corporation to take the donations, because that is a active 501c3 if I'm not mistaken.
Business Collaborative is a 501c3. They are on the IRS website.
Okay, are you in state of California, what determines whether you're tax advantaged is the Registry of Charitable Trusts. I would suggest you get on that website and take a look at, because I printed it out here, Shar. And it says it's not even registered. So I just would hate for you to solicit, I would hate for you to solicit donations and have people think that their money's tax advantaged for a very good cause, which I support 100%. Just don't want people to be giving money to this, you know,
Of course.
and not get that tax break if there's an issue with the registry. I went on this today to
Okay.
look at this, so you may want to take a look at that and figure out what's
Yes,
going
we'll
on with
look
that.
into that. But if they need to make their checks payable to the chamber instead, that's fine too.
Right, because the Selma Chamber is on the registry as a fully accredited nonprofit. So donations to the chamber. That's why I was having an issue with who is Selma Business Collaborative? What are they doing, you know, involved in this? And it doesn't look like they're fully registered. Okay,
Certainly look into that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
There are some organizations that can only give to a 501c3. The Selma District Chamber of Commerce and all chambers of commerce are 501c4s. We can be tax deductible and you can use that for your donations, but there are some big organizations and corporations that will not give to anything but a 501c3. That came to our focus about 3 years ago when there was an organization that wanted to make a donation for our Christmas parade and giving out the gifts for the children. They didn't want to give it to the chamber because they would not get a deduction for their tax.
I get
So
it.
we formed it. And it's about 3 weeks ago, it was on the register because I went on to do but I
Yeah,
didn't
come
do
on
it
up after
today.
the meeting. I'll show you. Who are the directors and the officers of the Selma Business Collaborative?
The directors and officers are members of the Chamber of Commerce Board.
Exact same?
No, they're not all the same.
Okay.
It's a smaller group.
And they are? Maybe you
ask
could
me.
get that, you can email me that with,
I will do
email
that.
that to me tomorrow, and I will email it to the interim city manager to send it to everybody on the council, just so we're all on the
Okay,
same
well,
page.
I will send you a copy of our actual.
Your bylaws?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, can we speak also?
Sure. Thank you for your input.
Are we
Please.
done?
Sure.
Are you done? Can I speak?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Don't stop
So
me.
first of all, thank you guys for coming and bringing a wonderful idea to the city. Organizations in the city of Selma, when they come and they bring good thoughts. First, that's a clear understanding of what the regulations and I work with 501(c)(3)s and I set those up and I actually have people that regulate those. So I kind of know what we're talking about. But aside of that, I'm an elected official for the community of Selma, for the betterment of our community. I'm here to tell you guys that I'm here supporting you. My restaurant, my tax office, my 3 businesses will buy a flag, whatever you got going to support the community because it's for the betterment of the community. So I encourage every council member, mayor in this community, if you want to change the culture of this community, help the residents, enhance them, help them. So aside of the technical parts, we can iron that out. I'm sure you guys can iron that out. But I want you guys to know that I fully support what you guys are doing. I fully support anybody that's going to come out to this community and help, especially the people that served our community. Served for the flag. We're questioning what we're going to do. So I want you guys to know that I support it. I support it, and I hope the council supports it. The technical parts, that shouldn't even be brought up. You guys, we got that. We'll take care of that 2 weeks. Next week, we got a city manager. So I just want, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that, I support you. And I, as a council member, I support you guys. I want you guys to know that we'll do what we can. And I value you guys' opinion. I value you guys coming in the effort that you guys are putting out. So thank you guys. Okay. So.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more, Councilman Trujillo. And I think that organizations that do give back to the city should, not be micromanaged and should be encouraged. And that's why I was so disappointed in the treatment of the animal shelter. And that's why I distanced myself from it, because I made the animal shelter a target with my presence, and it was politicized. And that's really too bad, because they're another fine organization that really does good work for the city and gives back. And so I think we made a policy on this board to make sure that anybody that wants a fee waiver from the city has their papers in order. That should be enforced all the way along, just like the animal shelter was micromanaged and told they had to submit financials, audited financials, and have reports submitted, which they did anyway. So I think all nonprofits, the rule, to be fair, which the city council decided on as a policy, anybody who comes for a fee waiver should make sure when they claim to be a nonprofit that they are actually a nonprofit. Nothing to do with the worthy cause. Most of the nonprofits are engaged in worthy causes, of which this is one. But again, when you represent yourself as a nonprofit, it should be truly a nonprofit. And that's the issue here, because the Registry of Charitable Trusts says otherwise. And that's just the policy of the city, that it should be shown that these 501c3s and these charities are fully accredited and registered with the state.
And I'd just like to say as well, like we've talked about, we're here to set policy, and we want to make sure that everything is fair across the board with all nonprofits. If you're going to come and ask for a waiver, these are public funds, and we have to look at each and every one of you, because this is taxpayers' money. And we want to make sure that everything is set in stone with policies, because that's what we're here to do. And I just had a conversation with the interim city manager and our deputy city manager, and we talked about this. And I know that we were in agreement that these are public funds, and we should have all the 501(c)s or nonprofits should be registered, or because if not, the city probably can get in trouble. So that's the reason why we set policies. It's not that we're not supportive. Like I mentioned, I'm a military family. I'd probably be purchasing several of these banners. So no one's against it. We're for it. And I know we've talked about this in the past. Like I said, another citizen brought this over in the summer and wanted to start this. So I know we've already talked about this. So that's just all I wanted to say.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve this on the condition that they meet and update their status. Okay?
That they are a bona fide nonprofit, a registered nonprofit in the state of
However,
California.
okay.
Is that understood, City Attorney? Thank you.
Second it.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. We have do we have any more discussion on the floor? Okay, we have a comment. I'll go to that next.
1057 Mill Street. 1050, is this up?
Your name?
1057 Mill Street, Rose Robertson. I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate these military banners. I would assume that anybody reach out to the American Post region to possibly have been part of this. I think they would have probably paid, or if anybody would have reached out to them. Number two, I hear constantly from some of you council members how you want to be fair to all organizations of businesses and developers, and let's help everybody out. But it is nice for the citizens of Selma to see the character of some of you council members, because at the end of the day, you all love to target people who are active in their nonprofit organization. It's obvious. Last time we were here, I believe Council Member Blanca Navarro was looking at 20 contracts with the city and was going to do her due diligence to make sure our taxpayer money was going. But after they targeted Second Chance Animal Shelter, we never heard anything else again, but they saw that everything was active. I'm glad we're no longer affiliated with them, because I think we passed the baton to another generation. They're ready to do it. Also, Um, I think before the city comes and wants to give waivers or our taxpayer money, and because they got the 3 votes up there, they need to start putting these nonprofit organizations, 501c3s on the website of our taxpayer money and show that they are active. They are putting in their paperwork to the Secretary of State. And if it was COVID, I understand they're probably backed up, but if it was in 2017, 2018, and they feel they got the votes up there and they're above the law, well, let me tell you, you're not above the law. And taxpayer money should be allocated where it's transparent. We should have a website of who is on the board, who are the board members. So if we have questions, we could go to them. When are the meetings? Only if it's taxpayer money. And yes, we will be the #1, Robert Singera will be definitely on board with this, but we definitely need to have that taxpayer write-off for our business and our agency. And I'm glad that, you know, it's just time to stop favoring certain people because you got the votes up there. It is time to have a decent character and make sure everybody's doing it for their nonprofit. Thank you.
Thank you. Their input? Do we have anybody on the line or on Zoom like to have an input at this point?
Alice, your line is open.
This is Teresa Salas, 1701 Danube Avenue. I think this is an amazing idea. My father was in the Army. He received the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. And I would just absolutely love to honor him in this way. And I think that all the infighting, the arguments, is taking away from what a beautiful idea this is. The only thing they want waived is the cost that it's going to cost the city for the labor to put these up. They're not spending city money in effect. They're just asking, can they put it up for free? And 501(c), 501(c)(4), whatever. Again, I kind of agree with City Councilman Trujillo that those details can be worked out. The plan is in place. If people don't have one place to put their money, then there are other options. But in the meantime, I think what is being proposed is very reasonable. And I hope that the council is unanimous in supporting this, because this is just something that I would be 100% behind. And I hope that everyone, and I'm sure the public would be, and I'm sure the citizens of Selma would be. And I just would like to see a united front by the council in supporting this wonderful idea. Thank you.
Are there any other comments online? Okay, bringing that back, I would hope that the Selma citizens and taxpayers would be happy that we've got their back, and that, you know, if you do give a donation and you do expect a tax break for this, and you find out all those little details, which actually become really big details down the line if they're forgotten, which can easily happen. That's why we meet, and that's why we do things like this, so we figure these things out ahead of time and do them the right way. Yes, it's a great idea, but it also has to be executed correctly as well, and that's what we're talking about tonight. Also, the post-12, the organization was not consulted on this. Hopefully they will be consulted. Commander Alicio Zuniga and the members there will be consulted in the future on these banners, because they would have probably the best input since their members are military veterans. Okay, we do have a motion. We have a second on the floor. Would you call roll, please?
Councilmember Trujillo.
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. And with that, that concludes regular business items, and we will move on to our staff reports from here. Our first staff report from our interim city manager.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Our city attorney, Lerner.
Nothing to report, Mayor and Council.
Our deputy city manager, Fernando Santillan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick update. Our economic development analyst, Tracy, asked me to report that she attended a luncheon for the T-Mobile call center that's opening in Kingsburg. And they are looking to hire 1,000 workers, employees for that facility, and are looking to hire 70% from the local area. So I wanted to give the website for where people could go and apply for or look for the job posting. Give me 1 second. So the website is tmobile.careers/Kingsburg. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, Public Works Director Shane Farrell. Sure. Fire Chief Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. In 2019, we surplused one of our older fire engines. And since then had been looking for something productive to do with it. And a few weeks ago, our staff was put in contact with members from a fire department in Mexico, Rio, Colorado, which is my understanding within the state of Sonora. And this came together rather quickly. And last night they sent some staff down and we donated that fire engine to them. It was a nice event. They sent 4 members. I got to meet their chief and speak with them and learn a little bit about their community. They protect approximately 200,000 people with only 3 fire stations and 6 full-time personnel. The rest is done with volunteers and donations. So it was nice to be able to do that. Kind of full circle for me. I had just started with the department when we purchased that engine. I remember how proud we were of it. We hadn't had anything that big before. And I was proud to be able to now donate it to another community and serve their citizens as well as it served ours. They presented the city with the plaque, and I'll bring it up and pass it around.
Love to see it. Awesome. We don't have Commander Garza here tonight. He's not online.
No, he's
Okay, Parks and Community Services Director, anything to report? Thank you. Wow, that's substantial. This is great. Are we gonna put this in the hall there, City Clerk? Are we a fire department annex? Oh, great. Right. All right. Sounds good. That will move on to council reports. Council Member Mendoza Navarro.
I am sitting here admiring this plaque. It's really nice. Yeah. So don't have a lot. I did attend the Ringo Park ribbon dedication ceremony. That was really nice because I hadn't that's my old stomping grounds. I went to Iroquois School, go Iroquois Tigers. And then on a kind of personal note and kind of business note, thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for putting on the Customer Appreciation Day over at the Selma Plaza. I wasn't able to attend. I had a couple things going on that day, so I wasn't able to attend, but you guys brought the Temptations to Selma and they stayed at the Holiday Inn, and we held our 30th high school reunion at Legends. And so one of the Temptation singers, Fred, ended up showing up and having some drinks, started dancing out there with us. So we said, "Where's the rest of your crew?" He says, "Oh, they're old. They went to sleep already." So it was nice to see them. And with that, like I said, I did attend our 30-year high school reunion. It was actually a combined class of 89, 90, and 91. And Shane was there, and Chief, we missed you. We had a great time. And it's really good to hear, we had a lot of people come from out of town. And so they, came back to their hometown and stayed locally and bought locally. So it was really good revenue for our city. And then I just wanted to thank interim city manager Ralph Jimenez and Deputy City Manager Fernando and all the staff that helped put together the amazing workshop that we had on Friday. There was just so much positive information that came out of it. And like I mentioned there, that was something that I envisioned happening when I was running. I was thinking, okay, what do I want? What do I want to see? And that's exactly was that partnership and that, you know, workshop to do it. And I commend you guys for doing it in such a short amount of time that you guys have been here. And so it's been a long time coming. So, and then on another personal note, I want to wish my grandson a first happy birthday on the 18th, which is Thursday. He's just turned 1. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Trio?
I don't really have too much. I've been really busy on a business aspect, and I apologize for that. But I do want to bring up a point of last Friday's meeting with the developers. We don't know how much of an impact, and I want to congratulate Fernando and Ralph for bringing this to the city of Selma. I've gotten many phone calls. Many people have talked about how the council was presented, how we presented it, and how professional we were. And I really see that, you know, that's going in the right direction. So I want to congratulate the council, the city staff for presenting it, because it was something that's been talked about all around the county, and it's something positive. So I really am happy that I participated, and I thank you guys for that.
Thank you. Councilmember Guerra?
Okay, I attended the sign dedication there at Ringo Park, which was very nice because, again, like Councilmember Blanca Navarro mentioned, those are my stomping grounds as well. I attended Eric White School as well. So, yep, go Tigers. And then I did have a meeting with the president of Rotary, which was Steve Johnson. And he was very supportive in regards to some of the concerns the citizens had. And I'm not sure if some members took it a little offense, which I apologize, because we're never out to make anyone look bad or make anyone's, you know, get their feelings hurt. What we're trying to do is like we've talked about, is uniting and doing what's going to be better for our community. You know, we want to do it bigger and better next year. So those are the things that, you know, we as council members, we talk about how we can do things bigger and better. So if anyone did get their feelings hurt, those were not my intentions. My intentions were, you have to understand that we get not just good, complaints, we get bad and good and ugly. So we're just trying to mitigate these issues and, you know, see how we can do things better next year. So again, that was a really nice, positive conversation. The other thing, I did meet with city manager, interim city manager, God, I'm losing it here. Jimenez and our deputy city manager, Fernando. And we talked about the bonds issue, and we talked about pension obligation, and again, the organic waste and things that we did already talk about. So, which was great meetings. And we talked about a few other things that, you know, what we're trying to do again is what can we do better for our community in regards to events. You know, those are things that we are looking to see how we can do bigger and better. So again, we're being positive. We want to stay focused on uniting everyone. And I have to commend Samantha in regards to what you're saying, helping each other, because let me tell you, when they have the plays, you know, you have the kids out there and they're saying, is there anything we can eat or buy, or, you know, and they just want just an ice cream cone, you know, or they just want a milkshake or cookies or something. We just don't have that downtown to offer. So those are, you know, good things that we're looking at to maybe in the future, there could be a small shop, you know, just cookies, you know, because when we had the cupcake shop downtown, everybody loved that place. So, you know, we're trying to bring things up like that, but thank you, Samantha, for bringing that up. And then, let's see, we did have that great meeting with all our developers, the stakeholders, which was great input. And again, we're facing challenges here in the city of Selma, not just with the traffic impact, but the RDA issue that we talked about, which we're hoping that we can find a solution. And I think putting our heads together, I want to mention this to our interim city manager, Fernando, probably the mayor, maybe we can get you two, an attorney, someone that specializes so that we can get this letter of clearance so that the city of Selma will be able to participate in these grants that were being held back, for infrastructure, because that's what was the number one issue with our developers, it's our infrastructure. So those are things that I want to make sure that we can get on board, see what we can do. We had Myra with Melissa Hurtado's office stepped up and said she wants to do what she can to help us out. So I think if we can kind of mitigate that challenge, I think it's a great step forward, okay? And then, let me see. Oh, and I just would like to congratulate our mayor, Scott Robertson, for his first triathlon. He competed this past weekend. He placed 17th in his category. And what an accomplishment. I mean, I don't know if any of you saw this on Facebook, but that was amazing.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho?
Yes, I also attended the Ringo Park dedication. I heard the story behind it about Mr. Ringo from the Vista, and that was a really interesting story. I've been here a long time. I'd never heard that. I have a Lions meeting tomorrow night. We're going to be saluting the vets. So we have like 14 vets coming, and some of them are from Selma, and I will tell them about this banner because I think they're going to be excited about it. I'm excited about it. I guess Sanger has it, but I've seen it in Reedley also, and it is really, it's a showcase because you're respecting, these people served, they served us, and they had some like the way back in like World War II or I, you can see their pictures, and then up to the modern day ones. So it is really unique to be able to go to a city and see all the people that served. Thank you for the workshop. That was really interesting for me because I've never seen so many developers in one room, and they didn't, they were very, it was very, very unified to me because they seems like they were all trying to go a direction. And that's a start. And I thank you guys for having that workshop. Next week, the day before Thanksgiving, we are doing the Thanksgiving Meal Senior Center. If you know of we're going to have some extra plates, I think. And if you know of a family that needs it, if you could call in to Senior Center and put their name on, if they can come pick it up, that's great. If they can't, get us our address and we will deliver it to them. Okay. Because right now the seniors are signing up for it. And from what I'm hearing, there will be some extra plates, and we definitely always give it out. So whoever needs it, yeah, please call the Senior Center, talk to Liz, and get it lined up for us. Okay. And you guys have a happy holiday also.
Thank you. I met with the representatives of the Tobacco Free Initiative. They're looking to work on our ordinance. The vaping industry has stayed ahead of a lot of these laws, and hopefully they can work with the city to come up with ordinances and laws that stay ahead of that. I enjoyed attending the Ringo Park sign and plaque dedication ceremony for all the reasons that everybody gave. Thanks to Shane Farrell and Public Works for all their hard work to make that happen. You really put your heart and soul into it. As always, I saw you tear up during your speech. You really put your whole self into it. Thank you for doing that. I attended that developers meeting on Friday. It was good to get that overview of COG and LAFCO and Caltrans for our newer council members, as well as to hear the developers' concerns right here. They got to stand up and talk about what's on their mind. And that's really important as we move forward together and do it the right way. I want to thank my wife, Rose, and everyone who supported me in completing my first triathlon yesterday. I'm living proof at age 53 that you're never too old to take on a challenge and learn and grow from it. And I hope that everyone has a happy Thanksgiving. With that, we'll ask for any further oral communications. Come on up.
Wanted to extend an invitation. Wednesday, we will be having our fall mixer hosted by Martin Jewelers, but we're actually going to have it in front of the Art Center just for COVID compliance and luckily how packed our mixer gets. So we will be out front of the Selma Art Center starting at 5 o'clock and presentation at 5:30. So just wanted to extend the invitation again to the City Council and City.
Bob Allen, Salmon District Chamber of Commerce, and Samantha took part of my thunder in the fact that we're having our first mixer for 2021 this Wednesday night, starting at 5 o'clock at Martin's Jewelers. Program will start at 5:30. So Samantha, thank you for doing that. And then just a reminder that we will be having our Christmas parade, Santa's Arrival, on December 4th starting at 5:30. Mr. Mayor, you'll be lighting the tree for the season to get started off with the children in the community of Selma. We're excited about that. Not sure yet exactly where we're going to put the Santa's house, but Shane and I will be making that decision real soon. So, because Santa keeps calling every day. So we want to welcome all of you to come and join that evening as we have the parade. We've got a lot of applicants coming for the parade as well as vendors for that evening. So come and join.
Very much.
Have a happy Thanksgiving. That was last week. Downtown open houses were last week.
Once again, Jim Avalos, 1701 Dinuba. Once again, representing the Costa Properties. I forgot when I was up here to thank the fire department and the police for participating in our event. Thank you very much. And also Shane and making the streets safe for everybody out there. Thank you very much for your hard work and your group. And people that work for the city of Selma, I thank them very much because of their hard work and what makes happen in our city move forward, okay? Things that, and not just the people in the city of Selma, but also people that live in our community. You know, like the Temptations that came to Selma. That was put out by Casa Properties, you know, not the chamber. There was a mixed in communication and somebody in a social media said that. Now I'm here to clarify that, but it was a property owner and the business owners that put it together. You know, I'm the general manager operation there. So we had to brainstorm and to bring this to the city of Selma, Temptations, no cost to the public to be there. And that was something, we have more things down the future, guys, believe it or not. Avalos in the group, we are not done creating new avenues for this city of Selma, but also generating revenue for the people of city of Selma and appreciation of people that live in our community. Not just who they are, it's because they live here and we should appreciate who they live and everybody, it's the giving part. This is the season of giving. So that's why we developed this plan of giving in the Thanksgiving era. So we have new events coming up. I can't tell you the secret yet, guys. Who knows? We'll surprise you guys. Okay. Thank you very much. And everybody have a nice Thanksgiving. Total all the workers. Thank you very much. I have a secret to tell you, but I can't tell you yet. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Clerk, do we have anybody online who would like to point?
As a quick reminder to the callers that we have online, please use your raise your hand feature and we will add you to the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, we do not have any members with their
Okay,
hands
was there a
raised.
motion to adjourn? We're adjourned.